Let's go.
One step closer to Rop's return, which should be Monday, but for now, one more SOB Primetime, a Suk, Ortner, and Buckley edition as we get you set for the weekend. And I don't know, it doesn't feel like there's a ton going on today. We did come off of an NBA Finals game last night, but I feel like we're going to mess around a lot today.
The NBA Finals, that entire game one can be summed up with,
Yeah.
I did tell you, though, that it would get it back to single digits.
And they did.
And they cut it to like 8 in the third
think,
quarter, and then they went like on an 11-0 run, and then it was just like, Hopefully game two will be better. The Mavericks have been blown out, like, I guess in one of the series, they came back from like a 25-point deficit, but they've been down by 25 in all three rounds in game one.
And they lost both of their previous game ones as well, right?
Yeah. So, well, they lost two, they won one, but there was a 20-point comeback in that. And then they're 2-0 in game two. So, there'll be a comeback. I just that game was it was very ho-hum. Like, I was hoping that because we were watching it here, and then I was hoping by the time we got home, like, he'd get a good finish. And then I got home, and you're like, thanks for coming.
Yeah,
that was cute while it lasted.
I on my way home, I saw that it got to that single digit. I'm like, I'll be able to watch by the time I get home, and then I got home and it was like, it was back to 20-ish.
Yeah,
somewhere
exactly. That was my same
around
thing.
there.
Like, I was kind of jazzed. I was like, all right, sit down.
We had a moment, maybe.
Sit down. I had some lamb pitas waiting for me. I'm like, let's do it.
Lamb pitas.
Yeah, we got this.
What's a lamb pita?
Well,
a pita.
like a pita sandwich with lamb.
Oh, I did not understand that.
Yeah, my the BTJ, my lady likes to cook, and so now my Instagram feed is basically just like these 30-minute recipes, and I just send them to her like nonstop, and she'll like whip them up every now and then. And there was some dude that just I don't know, like now just my algorithm is like, hey fat ass, do you like this? And the answer is yes.
I hate that, and I also love that.
Yes, and it's like it's like a lamb burger, but like in a pita. It's amazing.
It sounds delightful.
It is so freaking good. And it's probably terrible for you because you fry it up a little bit, like you crisp up the pita. It's like a smash burger in a pita, and I can't stop eating it. And so I was waiting for those, and I thought, just sit down, watch some NBA Finals, and then I can't watch. Like, the NBA is one of those sports to me. I don't hate the NBA, but it's certainly not my favorite sport. But come playoff time, if you give me a good game, I'll watch the fourth quarter of anything, and especially NBA Finals. But boy, if it's a dud of a game, dude, count me out. Like, I'll watch a football game, watch a hockey game. I can even watch a baseball game sometimes if it's getting into the late innings, and it's not super competitive. But man, you give me 15-point lead with like 8 to play, then I'm out. And I may check back in to see if there's a comeback brewing. But that last night was just that was done.
The thing is, there are so many both entertainment options and this time of year sports options that if a game isn't competitive, it's hard to keep my attention. Really, in any of those sports. I love baseball. I'm not interested in watching a game that's a 6-run game in the 9th inning. Like, I'm not gonna tune into that.
No, but like I said, football I'll stick around for, and hockey playoffs I stick around for.
Anything can happen in those. You've already seen a couple 2- and 3-goal comebacks in the hockey playoffs this go round.
I don't know. It's just kind of what I just like the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's my favorite playoff, and I will even if the Oilers blowing out the Stars. I'll still watch one way or another, even if it's the team that I'm rooting for Edmonton, and even if the Stars are giving them the business, I'll stick around and watch. Mm-hmm. I don't know why. I don't turn those off. Yeah. Those are the two sports that are I don't know, like blowout proof for me. But for the most part, I'm with you. It's got to be competitive, or I'm tuning out. Even last night there was nothing on. Yeah. I don't even know what I think I played video games.
Yeah, we watched comedy after dinner.
Yeah, I don't know. I flipped over. I think I actually started playing video hockey. I think that's what I went to. I was like, hey, no Stanley Cup tonight. All right, well, let's see if we can take the Canucks to the Cup. Let's go. NHL 24. Let's do it.
What's the line in Swingers? Like, watch this. I'm going to make Gretzky's head bleed.
Yeah. Dude, those are video game. Like, everyone's excited because I'll get the new EA Sports, the college football game. I'll grab that.
There's some pretty cool looking features in that. I've seen some teaser videos coming out online of like the ways they've updated the gameplay, and it looks pretty slick.
Well, and like when I was in college, that's all we played. Like, it was really cool to see yourself.
Even if it was just your number, you knew.
Yeah, and it was the only video game I've ever been good at. And we've talked about it. I was the third worst player in Madden, like 53. But it's like a 92 my senior year in NCAA football.
Yeah.
That's right. Let's go, random generic 68 center for Brigham Young University. Let's do this.
Well, I need to engineer something like you've got going on at your house because, like you, I will forward recipes that look good that I think look good, I'll forward them to my wife on Instagram and say, like, look at this. And I usually get hit back with, sounds great, you should make it. And it always happens because I think in my algorithm, I'm looking for things that can be like a crock pot, one-pot meal that I can throw in before I come to work here and then can be kind of be ready later or keep. And so that's kind of the types of recipes that have been finding my feed. And I'll say, this looks great. And she's like, yeah, it does. You can make it.
See, I'm a very fortunate man in that. So, like, obviously, I raised my kids on my own, and so I had to cook, and I'm able, but my I don't remember if it was which one of my daughters. She described my cooking thusly, and bless her heart, I don't think she meant it as an insult. I don't think she meant it as an insult. But remember too, I would have to prep the food. And then like have either something that I could cook while I was gone, or my kids could just put into the oven. Cause like my kids would get home from school and then I wouldn't get home. It's like, I'd get home at 7:30. So if I got home at 7:30 and I didn't have something ready to go, then that's just takeout time, right? So I did a lot of crock pots. Yep. I did a lot of stuff like on baking sheets. Might want to dump that.
I caught it, I think.
Whoops!
It's just, you know what? It was a misspeak is okay. You didn't actually. You just said the word sheets wrong.
Yeah,
I took that class. You're okay because we know what you were trying to say, but I do think I caught it with the dump.
There you go.
Sheets. And so I put it in the fridge, and then I would tell the kids, "Hey, at 7:00, put this in. 4:05 for 30 minutes, and when I get home, it'll be ready to go." And this is years later when my kids were older, and my daughter described my cooking as, you tried hard. And you never want anything you do to be described as you tried hard.
At least you tried.
Like if you just got done having some intimate time with the missus, you do not want her to look at you and be like, honey, you tried hard. That's it. Hey, I fixed the fridge. You tried real hard. That's like the last thing you want. So I spent years trying my best, but now I'm with a lady who likes to cook and does not want me to cook. I will even offer. I'll be like, hey, do you want me to cook? You've had a busy, and I'll get this one. No, we're okay. So she loves it when I send her recipes. So like all these things that I throw at her, she's a big fan of. And the idea of me attempting one, I think it would be insulting. First of all, no one wants that. And it would be insulting to her. She's like, what? You don't want me to cook? It's really the best of both worlds. So my entire, like our feed back and forth between each other are two things. Me sending her recipes, like these 30-minute recipes that I see on Instagram, and apes and their relationships, because it's shocking how similar me and the BTJ are to apes. Okay. It's like one of those where it's two apes and it's like one male gorilla is like eating an apple and the other girl gorilla is staring at him like, I want some. And then the male keeps scooting away and turning his back. And it'll be like, me after telling my husband I'm not hungry and then seeing him eat something and deciding that I want it, but instead of asking for it, I just stare at him.
Did you guys send each other the one that was going around, the tiger meme of the tigers laying down and this one pushes this one out of the bed where it's totally comfortable and takes a spot? Our
entire feeds is just animals behaving shockingly like us, and then me sending her recipes that I'll give her credit. I would say like once every 7 recipes I send, she makes, and so now I just spam her. It's just like a never ending, and it's usually something with garlic and Parmesan.
Because if something looks good enough, she'll jump on it.
I just keep throwing them out there. And
I think that's a good strategy.
We get like these lamb smash burger gyro things, and now it's like a go-to.
I love it.
We get them like once a month, and it's
I might need that recipe. Might need that recipe. The thing, I like the you tried hard. The thing that I'll get from my wife, which is the equivalent of the you tried hard, and I know my way around her kitchen a little bit. It's not like I can definitely follow a recipe. I don't cook by feel the way that my wife probably does, but I can easily put dinner on the table, no problems. But sometimes if the meat isn't to her liking, whether it's like overcooked, undercooked, whatever, she'll come back and say, well, the flavor's good. And when she says, well, the flavor's good, I mean, I know that that you think the consistency isn't good, it's undercooked, it's overcooked, whatever, but the flavor's good.
Well, and the problem is that I don't like being told what to do. I struggle with it. It's just it's not in my DNA. And you know what a recipe is? All following a recipe is? It's some like ethereal being telling you what to do. Don't tell me how to season my meat. Listen here, Betty Childs, go to hell. I add this much pepper. You know what? I just kind of go. So if I'm cooking something, it's a lot of me just being like, I don't know, let's. And by the way, you're never going to get the same thing twice.
And I think that works in most cases. I've heard people say that cooking is art and baking is science. Like, you can't just mess around if you're, like, baking a cake or cookies. Like, you need the exact right levels of flour, sugar, whatever. Well, maybe not you, but I do think with anything that's not baking, you can kind of do whatever you want.
Yeah, I just kind of, like, there's usually some form of meat, and there's a lot of random seasonings thrown at it. And then you're going to get some sort of potato dish. And then, like, I'll cook, like, asparagus. Like, that's what you're getting out of me. You're getting, like, meat muffins. I take, like...
muffins?
Yeah, I'll take, like, the Pillsbury, like pastry things.
Like a pig in a blanket?
Yeah, and then I'll just cook, like, a random meat. And, again, randomly season it. And then I just roll it in there and cook it. And voila, meat muffin. That's what you're going to get out of me. You want some meat muffins? Come talk to me. Do you want some sort of grilled sandwich? Now you're in my area. But if you're expecting me to cook something that is presentable or that, again, follows any sort of pattern, you don't want what I got. And my crock pot, I felt bad. Like, after, like, years into it, my kids told me, like, Dad, don't ever crock pot anything ever again.
When are you going to bring in some meat muffins?
I thought the crock pot was a good idea. Turns out I don't execute the crock pot
I
well
think
at all.
crock pot is really hard to screw up, but apparently you found a way.
Yeah, well, the kids were never... I always thought it was fine, and it turns out they were just humoring me. Like, and the other one that I got was they would feed it to the dogs when I wasn't looking.
Oh, nice.
I was like, why are the dogs so fat all the time? Apparently, my kids, like, when I'm not paying attention.
Crock pot ain't that bad.
Yeah, they're just like, here you go, let's take this. I had a couple bulldogs that thought it was the greatest thing ever. What, the old man's cooking crock pot? All right. Got a couple bulldogs who are like, we're eating well tonight.
Well, Suk, there's something going on outside of my house today. Do you want to know what's going on?
Oh, please do share.
I think you might be familiar with this process because it's come up on the show before. The speed bumps are going in.
Oh, is this thanks to your Karen wife?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Well, at least according to Suk, my wife created enough of a stir that we now have speed bumps going in the neighborhood.
You notice how Buck has to put up a barrier? He has to put up a safety cone so that he doesn't admit that it's his wife's Karenish that got the speed bumps. But you're like, according to Suk, did your wife did she or did she not, Mrs. Buckley, go to a meeting to lobby? She took time out of her busy schedule to go to a civic meeting.
She went to a civic meeting. She did not go to lobby, though.
You're telling me she did not go to voice her opinion on speed bumps being put into your neighborhood?
She went to hear more details and ultimately sided with the detailed side that is, let's put in some speed bumps.
Interesting.
Yeah. It was more of a civic discussion about should we have speed bumps in the neighborhood, and people like my wife who thought yes we should went to the meeting and said so.
And so let me ask you this: did your wife speak up at the meeting?
I don't know if she spoke at the meeting. I don't believe she did.
That's code for yes, she did. You don't want to admit.
I will find out if she spoke at the meeting. I don't actually know if she did. I think she sat in the back and she said that it was like a scene out of Parks and Recreation where you have like a couple idiots yelling at each other over really stupid details. They were talking about which part of the streets, I think... which other streets didn't need it, and they're like, well, that's great, we're not talking about those streets, and that you couldn't get these people to shut up.
Let me ask you this: before the speed bumps came in, did your wife put up those little turtle things?
We don't have one of those. The ones that say like slow children at play or whatever.
Yeah,
no, we don't have one of those.
Holding a flag, because I can see Mrs. Buckley being turtle statue lady.
We don't have one of those. We absolutely would.
We used to steal those in high school. I borrow those in high school, and then they would end up randomly on or in other people's cars if you left your doors unlocked.
Yeah, I just always laugh whenever I'm driving through and I see those. I'm like, there is a lady with nothing else to do with her time right now that's very angry if something happens to this turtle. Your wife, Mrs. Buckley, is a civic-minded individual. So now anytime someone drives down your street and their suspension gets screwed up, you know who to thank.
Or
Mrs.
anytime
Buckley.
someone goes down that street at a reasonable speed and a pet or child's life is spared, you'll have my wife to thank.
Is there speed? But that is like the bane of my existence. When you're driving down a road and just out of nowhere for no reason, and by the way, those speed bumps, when they first pin them in, they're like Mount Everest. Eventually they get worn down a little bit, but when they first go in,
they're like the big rollers. You can tell that they're like, it's not the short little bumps. It's the ones that are spread out more.
God, at least like if you've got like a truck or whatever, but my car is low to the ground.
They
Like,
also have the thing where there's the gap in between them. There's like 4 little islands where you can drive through and put one side of your tires on, keep it on the flat ground.
dude, thanks a lot. Biting the asses. They're like, no, speed bumps. You need everyone going 11 miles an hour at all times on this road. Bad enough I get a bunch of olds that frown at me because God forbid I go 28 down to 25.
Well, the whole reason that these are going in is because people use our abnormally wide street as a thoroughfare to not have to go on the main road of Allen that has streetlights. So people just rip through our street at like 40 miles an hour and no longer.
Unacceptable according to
No
Mrs.
longer.
Buckley.
Well, even according to Mr. Buckley at times. Alas, we will move on and talk about sports because I don't think anyone cares about speed humps anymore.
People care about speed humps. I
Yeah.
care about speed humps.
Well, maybe we'll get into speed humps
Look,
later in the show.
Will is nodding too. The only people that truly want speed bumps, no offense, we know who they are. We know those people. You can't say it, I'll say it.
There was a basketball game last night, kind of. We watched it, kind of. What's going to intrigue you this sports weekend? We'll get to that next with our poll question on 1080 The Fan.
The Fan is live on YouTube.
And when it's by accident, it's totally fine,
That's
which is
right.
the case we have now.
Yeah.
Jordan weighing in on the Vancouver 4 text line saying that nothing will make me gas it like when I see one of those 20 is plenty signs. F you, look both ways before you cross.
Then, of course, we got the person who's super serious. You never know when a kid's going to run out in the street.
That's true.
Lighten up,
That's actually
Francis.
true.
Lighten up.
Well, it's time for us to get to our AAA heating and cooling poll question. I want to know what has some juice this weekend sports-wise, and so we ask, of course, AAA heating and cooling poll question brought to you by AAA Heating and Cooling. You can find them at AAAIAQ.com, a family company helping families for over 60 years. Which sporting event or events this weekend are you most likely to watch? The NBA Finals, the Stanley Cup Final, college baseball, or you can catch me outside.
Catch me outside. How about that?
Mhm.
I still can't believe that girl's worth like $40 million.
Is she really?
Yeah, dude. She's like loaded.
What?
She
I mean,
spoke at Oxford about how to be an entrepreneur.
Stop it.
No, dude, she's
Swear.
absolutely loaded. She like posted receipts like when she signed up for OnlyFans when she turned 18.
20 mil.
Yeah, like
So did she...
right off the bat, like the first, I don't know, like 8 months or something, tens of millions of dollars. And didn't even like go, I don't think she went nude. I think she just did like scandalous boudoir photos, which
God.
tells you
You seem to know a lot about this.
well, we talked about it on the air. If you want to know how creepy men are, there were $20 million worth of men sitting around waiting for the how about that gal to turn 18 and like show some side boob.
That's creepy. But
Yeah,
I also
it's
wondering, so
creepy.
did she make some really savvy business moves,
I
or was
don't
this all
know.
just waiting for her?
I think she's like a rapper or something. I don't know.
Boy.
Bad baby.
Yeah, she comes across my Twitter feed like sometimes like
Wait, was she on a Bad Baby trip?
No,
I
that's
think
her.
that's-
last
that's her name
It's
is Bad Baby?
BHAD.
Oh, I was thinking Bad
BHA.
Bunny, who is much more important and insignificant.
No.
Yeah.
Dr. Phil, yeah, he launched that. And by the way, it's only a matter of time before like a WNBA player just leans in and goes OnlyFans and makes a gajillion dollars. I'm telling you, mark my words, it's gonna happen. There will be a WNBA player. Who's the
Can the league stop someone from doing that?
I don't know if they can. Who's the dumb dude, she's a terrible fighter. Like awful.
Oh,
She's-
Paige Van Zandt.
Paige Van Zandt.
Yeah.
Paige Van Zandt is like
Very
one
hot.
of the worst. Like she's terrible. She cannot beat. She couldn't fight her way out of a paper bag.
She lost to an OnlyFans model this last weekend.
Yeah, and she's been kicked out of like she just gets drummed out of every like fight league she's in. I think she's like bare knuckle boxing now or something. So she got like an up top job and then went on OnlyFans and now makes more money than any. She's like she's the wealthiest female fighter of all time and hasn't won a fight like in a decade. And just
Is that like it's like an Anna Kournikova thing? She got all those like modeling gigs, even though she wasn't ever good at tennis.
yeah, Anna Kournikova is a hell of a lot better at tennis than Paige Van Zandt is at fighting.
Yeah.
So think about this, and I'm not trying to like be. I'm not trying to be like the knuckle dragging ogre, but like imagine if Angel Reese, who is desperate to try to convince people that she's as popular as Caitlin Clark.
Boy,
no,
have
you're
fun
not.
with that.
If Angel Reese signed up for OnlyFans tomorrow, she would break the internet. Break it. It would be just shocking. That being said, it's Stanley Cup. I mean, I'm geek, man. You give me the Oilers, and I will watch some super regional baseball.
Yeah.
I get roped into. I didn't watch any. I was on vacation when a lot of it was going on, but I like college softball when it gets to the World Series. So Oklahoma won again.
Yeah, they're fourth in a row.
Good Lord. And then they're like UConn back in the day, women's basketball.
Yeah.
But I like college baseball when you get into the regional, super regional. So I will check out the Duckies and the Beavs this weekend. But yeah, the Stanley Cup for me, man. I got a chance to bring the Oilers have a chance to bring the cup back to Canada for the first time in 20 years. Let's go.
Yeah, for me, it's probably the Stanley Cup as well, although I've been really enjoying the baseball. I kind of explained it to Isaac like this. It's to me, it's a little bit like the March Madness basketball tournament where I don't watch a lot of baseball during the college baseball during the regular season, and at times it's even hard to watch compared to the pro game, but there's so much wildness that goes on when it gets down to these 64 teams, comebacks and walk-offs and things like that. It's the same kind of, I can't believe that kid turned it over. Well, he's still just a college kid. And so you get some insane stuff happening. You still have some some kind of upset-minded teams left. A couple 3 seeds, Oregon, one of them, and then I guess Evansville got taken out already today. It is still double elimination, but
I like all of a sudden like this guy from North Carolina, like Gavin Gallagher. Like you'll be like, oh yeah, Gavin Gallagher. That
guy can rake.
Yeah, you see he's hitting like 420, and you're like, oh man, and like you like instantly become like a fan, and you'll just naturally gravitate towards a team. And
from the regional, Kevin Sider, he's my new guy for the Ducks. He went complete game, 128 pitches to get him to the Supers. Yeah,
that's cool. So that's one of those sports that ropes me in. The softball and the college baseball will rope me in when we get to this level.
But the other component of this is, after what we saw last night in Game 1, do you feel like this finals has any juice? Because I feel like there was enough hype going in with all the star power, and obviously one game does not make a series, but I wonder if interest is already going to wane in the series that's going on because of what we saw last night.
I think there's a public perception like that. Boston, we talked about yesterday how Boston just gets treated with it. Anytime they do anything remotely average, we freak out. And it's like, what's wrong with Boston? But dude, Boston has been just kicking the hell out of people all year. And they've breezed through the playoffs, and then they get Dallas, and then they just absolutely demolish. It wasn't a game. Even when Dallas cut it to 8, it didn't really feel like Dallas was in that game. Boston had, and by the way, Tatum didn't even play well, and they still throttled Dallas. So I do think there's that public perception today that it's just like, well, hey, thanks for coming. Here's Boston. But remember, again, Dallas has been down by 20 points in Game 1 in all 3 of their series and have lost 2 of those. And are 2-0 in every one of those. Remember Denver, Minnesota, right? Denver was completely humiliated in those 2 games. And look what happened. That ended up being a great series down the stretch. So I'm not writing off Dallas. Like, I was watching that game, and like Kyrie Irving didn't play well at all. They didn't hit a single corner 3. Luka only had one assist the entire game. There was no lob, something that they feast on Luka breaking down teams and the easy finishes the rim for other guys and knocking down those corner 3s after Luka it penetrates. Like, they're not going to play that poorly. And Kyrie missing at least 3 wide open, like uncontested triples. Like, they're not going to play. Dallas will have a pushback, but I do feel like for a lot of people, this is
enough to write it off.
Game 2 will be the determinant.
Yeah.
Like, no one believes that Dallas is coming back from a 2-0 deficit. One, it's really hard to do. We know Boston's the more complete team, and you saw that last night. Even though Tatum didn't have a great game, 5-6 guys had double digits? And Porzingis off the bench, by the way.
Dude, he looked great.
He's great. So Dallas needs this one. If Dallas wins Game 2, then we've got to fight, right? And it's like, okay, here we go. But if Dallas loses this, even if it's a competitive loss, if they lose this, I do think the national audience is going to tune out, and I think the ratings are going to be abysmal. Like, the NBA and Dallas, everyone needs Game 2 to be
good.
Let's get Tim Donaghy out there. Just do what you got to do. Blow some whistles. Get some foul trouble for Brown and Porzingis.
Too early to bring in Scott Foster, the series extender.
Let's
they
go,
said he's
Scott.
on the staff. Put him on Game 2. Make sure that this thing gets evened up.
They need Dallas, and I need Dallas, because honestly, if it goes 2-0, do wake me up when it's
for
over.
the parade. Yeah,
I'm not ready to write off the Mavericks. We've been down this road too many times with Dallas. I ain't writing them off. They still, in my opinion, still have the 2 best players. Clutch players in this series, and Luka and Kyrie, and one of them was great last night. The other one didn't show, but I think that's what you see from Boston is they don't need, especially now with Porzingis back, they don't need Tatum and Brown both to have great games. Brown was great last night.
He was awesome.
And now we're starting to, is he the best player on Boston? He's really stinking good. He should have been an All-NBA guy this year. He was an All-NBA guy the year before. But Boston can get an off night from Tatum, who didn't do much of anything, and it really doesn't matter. Dallas can't do that. Dallas and earlier in the playoffs, you'd get one of these where Luka would be dominant for a stretch, and then Kyrie would come on, and you could have an off game from one of them. In this series, you need Kyrie and Luka both. You need one to have 38, and you need the other one to have 26.
Yeah, and
you can't have Kyrie play the way he did and expect to beat the Celtics.
I didn't think the crowd was gonna bother or get to Kyrie at all, but then he went out of his way after the game to say he didn't think it was that loud in there. Which after that performance, I don't necessarily know why you would do that. Yeah, people are also pointing out he has not won a game in Boston since he stepped on Lucky Leprechaun's head on the logo.
for Pete's sakes. But,
6 in a row, Suk. Science. It's science.
You cut that thing to 8, right? And that's with Kyrie not playing well at all. And that again, there were open looks there for Dallas. That's one. Dallas is not going to get blown out in game 2. I don't know if they beat it. I don't know if they beat Boston, but I have faith that Dallas is going to be better. And Kyrie is not going to be 6 for 19. And 0 for 5, by the way, from the 3-point line. And at least 2 or 3 of those were like unmolested, like no one in the screen, stand there, blow a bubble, say a little prayer, make the sign of the Lord, and then fire one up. Like, come on, Kyrie's gonna hit those. And it's just there'll be a punchback. We do this every time a team loses game 1. We're like, oh, season's over. No, it's not. Dallas is resilient. They've proved it all playoffs long.
Well, we're hoping there's still some juice left in this NBA Finals. Going to get to a topic that Suk brought up before the show. We'll talk about it with Joey Harrington as well, coming up at 5:30 when we do story time. But we're about to get into the dog days, and there's some juice on an MLB game tonight. But for all sports in the regular season, which ones can bring the most juice, and are those starting to fade a little bit? We'll get into that next. But first, Ortner has SportsCenter. to the end of the playoff road for both the NBA and for hockey. Be getting into the dog days of summer, which is mostly dominated by baseball, and us looking forward to football season.
Yeah, we're waiting for like a Michael Vick or Tim Donaghy story. There's always something in the summer. Someone will do something stupid. Or like I said, some WNBA player will create an OnlyFans account. There's always something. There's always something in the summer that comes along and like will derail you for like 2 weeks.
A conference will die.
Yeah. So yeah. Well,
yeah, there's some of that.
Well, already, yeah, the ACC, those whispers are beginning. Like the I forget who the account is, but there's a guy online that he's like a West Virginia insider, I guess. And
was this the dude who was kind of didn't have an identity and he showed up and he had all this good information and his Twitter disappeared?
Well, and now he's back.
Right. I think I saw this.
He was the guy that predicted he predicted USC and UCLA leaving before it actually happened.
Right.
And he was like the Pac-12 doomsday clock, tick, tick, tick. That's just his thing. And a bunch of people claim he's full of crap, and not everything he says, but he does a lot of like, well, this is what I'm hearing, but it's no guarantee.
Didn't he also say that like he had to stop tweeting because he was actually going to blow Utah to the Big 12 or something like that?
Yeah.
Or like he was going to that was going to like blow up if he kept saying.
He clearly knows things. Like
unclear though what he knows and who he knows.
Exactly, but he was connected to the Big 12, right? And he clearly had information that came from someone knowledgeable inside what was going on in the Pac-12 and in the Big 12. And he recently popped back up with because his big thing was the Pac-12 doomsday clock. He would be like, 3 minutes till midnight, right? The bombs dropping. And I think his first post in like months was ACC like 4 minutes or whatever till midnight. Tick, 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 tick. So, we're already getting the prediction of the death of the ACC. And you can laugh at it because he's just a dude on the internet, but dude, he was pretty right about the Pac-12. He was pretty right about the Pac-12. So if you're an ACC fan, I don't think you want to hear from the guy that correctly predicted the death of the Pac-12 that he's like, well, you're on the clock now.
But this whole scenario with us getting into the time of year where we're waiting for news stories like that has me interested because tonight you pointed out we get a great marquee baseball game. We get a Yankees-Dodgers matchup, a good pitching matchup, or at least on the Dodgers side, with one of their young sensations out there. Yamamoto's on the hill tonight.
Well, yeah, it's like think about it. It's arguably, unless you want to throw the Phillies in there, right? It's the two best teams in baseball, like the two biggest markets in baseball. And by the way, like
one of the best pitchers against undoubtedly the best lineup, probably.
And well, every other player that you come up on either side is an all-star.
Mm-hmm.
There's like 5 MVP candidates here. No, like Aaron Judge is having arguably the greatest month since Barry Bonds. He's just why you couldn't ask for, and it's in the Bronx. You couldn't ask for a better series here if you're Major League Baseball.
And yet, do people care?
I don't know. And you're putting it on Apple, which.
That's tough.
The NFL, this is the beauty of the NFL. The NFL can put Kansas City on Peacock, and it's like, well, I guess we're all getting Peacock right now. They're the first Thursday night Amazon game, that was the single largest sign up in Amazon history because I'm trying to I think Kansas City was in that game too. I think it was Kansas City.
I don't remember who's in that one. I definitely know it was Kansas City, Miami in the Peacock game.
It was Kansas City and someone in that Thursday night game, and it just shattered Amazon signups for Amazon Video. But I'm not like I get what baseball is trying to do, trying to put it on Apple, and you're trying to create some juice, but I don't know. I don't know if other sports can create buzz during the regular season.
And
I know they're desperately trying.
Yeah, because besides the NFL, it doesn't. I mean, I feel like with NBA, the discourse recently has been we just need to shorten the schedule to like 60 games. There are too many games with all these guys sitting out, and they try to give us matchups that we care about midseason. They try to give us a midseason tournament that moves the needle. I'm not sure that's really happened. NHL, people are just trying to gain some sort of interest in Major League Baseball. The season is so long, most people don't care till you get to the playoffs. But it doesn't mean there isn't good action out there, but it feels like we've lost a little momentum in a lot of this regular season competition mattering.
Yeah, outside of regional, like if you're a Yankee Dodger fan, this is must-see TV. It's great. I just, from a national perspective, I really don't. I don't know. Like, Caitlin Clark had it when she first came into the league, right? But that's already starting to die down. You see some of like the attendance numbers for non-Caitlin Clark games?
Oh, yeah.
They're abysmal. Like 4,000 or 5,000 people showing up to WNBA games.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that it's not still a growing product, but right now the effect is chasing one individual.
Yeah, and the TV numbers outside of Caitlin Clark games are starting to come back down to earth. We just, we kind of had our moment like, baseball again. You get Yankees, Red Sox, and Yankees, Dodgers when they're both real good. I'll be interested to see on Apple TV, and we probably won't know because it's on Apple TV. They don't have to tell us, but I'm generally curious because when the Lakers play the Celtics in the regular season in the NBA, I know they're trying to make Christmas a thing.
Yep.
But the NFL came along and kicked that in the balls.
Uh-huh.
Like they just absolutely crush it. And by the way, the NFL doesn't even need marquee matchups. The NFL can just on Thursday.
Oh, they can put dog mess on the screen and we won't care.
Happens all the time.
We get a night. We get what was that first game? Like early in the season, we got a 10-9 Thursday game. We didn't care. Got great ratings.
Colts Broncos is what you're thinking.
That's
of.
exactly right. It's on Amazon, right?
Horrific.
Yeah.
Horrific.
And yet you got 19 million people that watch the damn thing. So in general, I'm throwing out there. Outside of the NFL, is there something outside of playoffs that creates national buzz? Because the in-season tournament, like we sat there and had to listen to the NBA pump that thing down our throats for months and months and months and months. And I'll look it up, but if I'm not mistaken, I want to say like 2 million people tuned into that. It was like 2 or 3 million people, and they were like, "Oh, thank God!"
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, "That's like all that hype, all that money, all that advertising, like everything that went into that. You spent tens of millions of dollars, if not more." To create that thing, promote it, special cords, special jerseys, all that. And you got like a lukewarm.
You kind of got a meh.
You got like a meh. I'm trying to think of the last time that we had something outside of football, regular season, that really created like a, oh boy, here we go. College football has it.
Oh, absolutely.
College football, but again, we're back to football. Because when Alabama plays Michigan at the start of the year, or when Oregon plays Ohio State, and now they're in the conference, but even that, let's say conference play, right? When Oregon plays Ohio State, when Oregon plays Michigan, dude, there's juice.
Yes.
Like national, like
and people who don't have an interest in either team traditionally will just watch because it's a good matchup.
Yes. So is it just now football is the only thing outside of championships? Is football the only thing in our country now that moves TV needles?
Would you throw in March Madness as a championship? Like the entire tournament?
Yeah, because I mean, the thing is, again, that goes back to no one watches their regular season. And nationally, I'm not sure anyone watches their regular season at all. Even when you put, like, who is a marquee matchup in college basketball? We don't even know. We knew all the key players in women's college basketball. Men's this year was a totally different story. Feels like there's hardly a draw. But the tournament definitely is a draw.
Yeah, I looked at the NBA, the play-in tournament, the championship. It averaged 3.2 million viewers. And I guess in today's world, like that's fine.
It was up, I know that, from what the games were getting last year at that time. It was like a 15% increase or something.
Yeah, it looks like about 12% prior to the record set in 2021. 22% higher than last year, 12% prior to the year. But how long is that? How is that possible? Because the in-season tournament has it been around since 2021?
No. But that's what they're touting. They're saying, look at what a great idea we had. We had the in-season tournament in its first year, and we grew 12%. That's why they're hyping it up so much, because they can say, look, it grew,
so
and we
grew
created
from
like regular season games?
From regular season games at that time, it grew 12%.
Yes.
That's not very impressive. That's not really even something I would flex on.
Yeah, I don't know. That seems, because this was the first year they did it, correct? This was the first year
that's
the
correct.
play. Yeah, so, I mean, so you created something, spent all this money promoting. Remember, they would not shut up about that damn thing and how much people care, and it got 12% than similar games last year. And by the way, the Lakers were in that. The Lakers played your marquee.
They
team.
won it.
They won. That's just, I don't know. I just think.
And by the way, I could not have told you that the Lakers won the in-season tournament, which tells you probably something about how much attention it's getting. How many people out there could tell you the Lakers won the in-season tournament? I
do remember I remember the Lakers being in it, and then they won it because we tried to use that to justify that the Lakers were some sort of contending team. And again, I know the NBA's thrilled because look, anytime you get growth, that's a good thing. But I just if I told you that an NFL or a big time college football game got 3.2 million people, you'd be like, what in the hell? Like what? Like that would be abysmal. But now we're like, we created something, spent $100 million to create it and promote it and all this stuff, and all for a 12% increase over a regular season game.
Yeah.
Like I said, maybe I'm wrong. I just feel like the only thing that drives viewers during the regular season to a real frenzied pitch, or like, hey, this is must-see TV, is football. Because this should be the Yankees and the Dodgers with the years they're having. And by the way, it's very good chance this is a World Series preview. This should be a big deal. And I think collectively, outside of diehard baseball fans, it's 2 thumbs. Meh.
Yeah, I think you're about right. Well, plenty more to get to in this news program. I have to talk still about if we now have a price for a championship football roster in college. Additionally, some corporate branding may be coming to a field near you.
By the way, I wanted to double check this because someone said this on the Vancouver Ford text line, and and I had to check myself, and it does appear to be true that in 2023, Oregon State, San Jose State. Okay, I want Oregon State,
San Jose State.
3.23 million people.
Heavyweights.
So just for the NBA, for all that crap that you put into that, realize that you got outdrawn or just similar.
Right on the margin.
Oregon State, San Jose State.
It was a Sunday game, to be fair. First week, solo Sunday game, CBS.
Oregon State, San Jose State.
All you have to do is say San Jose State Spartans, and it should be embarrassing for the NBA.
Just saying.
Coming up next, there's a streak that lives on as the Stanley Cup final approaches. We'll see if Souk knows about it. That's coming up next on 1080 The Fan. roster. And additionally, people are shooting at things. That'll be in the news. And pet gender news as well. We'll get to that in the next hour. But right now, an interesting streak is still intact. And I don't know if you're familiar with this, but as the Stanley Cup Finals starts tomorrow, there will be a player playing in it for the 44th straight year that was a teammate of Jaromir Jagr's.
I was not aware of this until you pointed it out.
It's pretty remarkable. So
Jaromir Jagr, if you don't know, is pretty remarkable. He's a hockey player that played forever. In fact, I think recently, just maybe a year or two ago, he was playing overseas when he was like 50.
He's currently 52, and
is he still playing somewhere?
Let's see. It looks like he is still playing for Kladno, which is in his hometown of.
He's a Czech. He's
yeah,
a Czech
of
Republic,
the Czech
right?
Republic. So there you go.
Yeah, he's
Still playing at 52.
and he was the big if you don't he played for Pittsburgh back with like Mario Lemieux.
Absolute beast
big,
with Lemieux.
big long mullet. Dude's like
Favorite hockey jersey I own?
68 Jaromir Jagr.
I got a big old Jaromir Jagr
All right,
jersey.
nothing
Penguins.
wrong. Nothing wrong with them except I hate the Penguins. But Jagr, I can get on board with that mullet flying. Plus 68 because well we know that's a great number.
Oh, that was your number. That's right.
I was 68.
But so the streak goes all the way back to 1980, where a player who I don't know, Brian Trottier?
Yeah,
Trottier?
he played for those Islander teams that won 4 straight cups.
And he played with Jagr, but now this year, Alexander Barkov, and Barkov has now played for the Stanley Cup 2 seasons in a row with the Florida Panthers. He was a teammate of Jagr's when he was in Florida in 2017. So this is now 44 years in a row that there's been at least one player in the Stanley Cup final who played hockey as a teammate with Jaromir Jagr.
That's pretty cool. And he is one of those guys, and there's probably one of these in every sport, right? Like Jaromir Jagr is greatness, but if you asked the average, even hockey fan, who's the greatest players of all time, right? You're going to get Gretzky. You're going to get Gordie Howe. You're going to get Sidney Crosby. Maybe some of the modern ones, you'll get like an Ovechkin.
Lemieux.
Yeah, you're going to get Lemieux. I'm Mark Messier. I'm an Eiserman guy. But do you realize that the fourth leading goal scorer of all time in the NHL, so the only people that have scored more goals in the NHL, and by the way, it's not even close, Wayne Gretzky, Alex Ovechkin, Gordie Howe. Then Jaromir Jagr is fourth. Jaromir, like, is there I think if you looked at like anything, RBI, home run, points, I think there's one of these guys in every sport that's like a top 5 guy that you look at and you never really think of. And Jagr, for all his greatness, is kind of that guy.
Where he's just stacked stats and I mean, he's played for so long that it would be hard. I mean, obviously, you have to play at a very high level for that period of time.
Yeah.
But he's played for so freaking long.
Well, and
he's able to amass a ton of stats.
Well, in baseball, like I would go with A-Rod. A-Rod is 5th. Pujols passed him, but Alex Rodriguez is Alex Rodriguez arguably has the greatest all-around stat, like arguably of all time. Like his numbers are stupid. And obviously he's got some stuff going on with like the roids and all that, but you just don't, when you think of Bonds, you think of Aaron, you think of Ruth, you think of Willie Mays, you don't really think of Alex Rodriguez. But when you look at his numbers, dude, they're right there with anyone's. And so like he would be my baseball guy. I was thinking like NBA points leaders. I'll bet you there's just always one of those guys that just doesn't.
Malone for like younger generations.
Yeah, would that be Malone?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Malone. We don't think of him as being that great.
And Dirk. Dirk is 6th.
Yeah.
Dirk is the 6th leading scorer in NBA history. How long to the average NBA fan would we have to go if we said, who's the you'd obviously get LeBron and you'd get Jabbar. Eventually someone would, you get Kobe and Jordan. Malone is a good one. I don't know how many people would get Malone because Malone for a long time was number 2. And had Malone kept playing, and he could have, Malone might have caught Jabbar. He could have kept going. Remember the year they lost to the Pistons, he bowed out. But Malone was still an effective player. But you're not, I don't know if you're getting Malone, but I don't think you're getting Dirk.
Yeah.
I don't think the average person is getting Dirk at 6. It just that's Jagr. I think Jaromir Jagr he's the Dirk Nowitzki, or he's the Alex Rodriguez minus the steroids, although he's probably on him.
Did you
of
see
the NHL.
Did you see the Jaromir Jagr like getting inducted into the Pittsburgh Penguins Hall of Fame speech?
I don't know that I did. No.
If you haven't, I'll try and go and find it. But there's a part in there where he's talking to his girlfriend, and he's like, I know you're too young to have seen me
Oh, I
play
get
for
what-
this
Oh,
team,
yeah.
but we loved it here.
Legend. There was a
He's good.
similar streak in the NBA that was going on for many years, and I think maybe more people are aware of it, and that was the Shaq NBA Finals streak.
Had something like
There
that.
was a play. Shaq had a teammate that played in every NBA Finals from 1984 to 2020. Shaq, of course, played with LeBron, who played in the finals in 2020, but then that got snapped the year of the Bucks Suns finals. So Jaromir Jagr's streak is the one that stands the test of time. 44 years that he's had a teammate in the Stanley Cup final.
Pretty cool. The greatness that is the mullet.
Well, coming
And
up
who
next.
apparently has like a 20-year-old girlfriend who.
Yeah, I
was
feel like he always has a 20-year-old girlfriend. It's the
He's-
old McConaughey. He keeps getting older. They stay the same age.
He's got a
thing.
little bit of Leo in him.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, like he might have an age limit or something like
Jeter had some of that going
that.
on.
A little bit.
You know, it's like, hey, it is great that you can be that. You can't do the tiger thing. You can't marry the model and then have like 19 mistresses, but you can do the old man young girlfriend, and like as long as it's kind of your MO, we're like, it's like, hey, no big deal.
Well, is $23 million a big deal? Is it enough to buy a college football championship?
I want $23 million.
We'll get to that coming up next, plus in the news and story time with Joey Harrington. That's all ahead on Primetime on 1080 The Fan. exactly the case. He'll be back on Monday or so, we're told.
Yeah, we're hoping. Someone put the odds at 50-50. You never know when Rob travels. It's always, it's always a bit of a crapshoot. I was worried yesterday because I always give Rob a hard time. Because Rob would be like, "Oh, I'll be back Wednesday," and I'm like, we'll see you Thursday." And I almost had that yesterday. I get my plane was delayed a couple hours, so I got here at 2:51 and was like, "Whew."
Well, to be fair, I was warned for that, and I was on my way out the door, and I was like, "Well, I might be hosting the show solo with Will today." My wife's like, "How? I thought Suk was back today." I'm like, "Well, he is back today, but he's flying this morning, and he can't do anything about the fact that he's got flight issues."
Yeah, because I got bumped. Apparently, do not buy. And I was not aware. I don't know about you when I fly. I don't fly on a certain airline. I just do a kayak or Skyscanner or whatever and just get my ticket and away you go, right? So I was at a one-way because I flew from here to San Francisco to Reno, and then Reno back to here. So I had all one-way tickets, right? So I just, when I looked at it, I took an Alaska flight. And it's an hour and 20 minutes, right? And it's only it's on one of the Horizon planes, so 2 seats on each side, so it's not like there's a middle seat. So I don't care where I sit. So I bought the cheapest ticket, right? It was $180, and it was an Alaska Saver ticket.
Mm-hmm.
And the main cabin was $270.
Okay.
And so on my Saver, I didn't get to pick my seat, but I don't care because there's no middle seat.
Sure,
I don't care if I'm in the aisle. I don't care if I'm in the window. Again, less than an hour and a half. I don't care. I don't need a checked bag or anything. I'm fine. So I buy that. Turns out when you buy the Alaskas, do not do it. It is the worst ticket known to man. You're lucky if they don't strap you to the wing on that thing. So I guess they oversold my flight. And when you oversell the flight, if you have a Saver ticket,
hold on. That should be illegal. How are they allowed to do that?
They just boot you. They're just they booted me off. They booted me off my flight, put me on a different one. And so when I called, I was like, "Well, I don't want that flight." They're like, "Well, we sent you an email and you didn't respond to it." I was like, "Well," I was on vacation. I wasn't checking my Alaska emails. So
that's not how that's supposed to work.
They sent me this thing saying that I could get a $25 coupon for later air travel if I took one of these other flights. I didn't see it until apparently it was too late. And when I did try to be like, "No, I want this flight," they're like, Nope, didn't do it in time. Which, by the way, was less than a day and a half later. So when I called Alaska to try to be like, "This doesn't work for me. I can't do this. I need an earlier flight." And the lady goes, "Yeah, no, there's no changes on your ticket." She said, "When you buy one of these Savers tickets, there's nothing we can do." And I said, "There is changes. You made
changed
them.
it.
You changed my ticket." And the lady, so I go through this whole thing and I get to the second customer service lady, and she literally tells me this. She goes, "Well, can I just cancel this then? And I'll just rebook a flight. I'll rebook it and I'll just pay the extra bucks to get in earlier so I don't have to deal with the hassle of flying the same day that I'm supposed to be back at work." And the lady goes, "Yeah, no, we can't do that." And she goes, basically the ticket you bought, this is from the Alaska customer service lady. She says, "I tell my friends and family under no circumstances buy that." She goes, "I don't even
it shouldn't be available."
That's what I said. She goes, "That is such a garbage ticket." She goes, "It is so restrictive. I tell everyone not to buy it." And I'm like, then why are you offering it?
When the employee of the company tells you how bad their product is, not a great sign.
Right? So then so I'm like, all right, well, this is what I'm doing. So I'm flying in the morning. What was that? Thursday, right? So I'm flying out Thursday morning, right? So I get to the airport and then the flight is delayed. So I'm like, crap, already it's going to be a bit hairy. So when I get it, I get my boarding pass. I don't have a seat. It just says C gate attendant.
Oh, that's always lovely. Yeah.
So I'm sitting there staring at my boarding pass. And so I get to the gate and the flight's delayed. So there's no one at the little kiosk thing. So eventually, the lady shows up and says, "Hey, plane's late coming in, blah, blah, blah. We'll board soon." So I go up to the lady and I said, "Yeah." I said, "I just want to check." I'm like, "I don't have a seat." And because they've already done this is going to be a full flight. Does anyone want to check your bag? All that stuff. And I was like, "Well, I'd like a seat." And she goes, "Yeah." She goes, "Those will be assigned in a little bit." She goes, "It'll just update on your phone." So I wait 30 minutes, keep refreshing, no seat, go back up. "Yeah, can I get my seat?" "Oh, don't worry. You'll be fine." Keep making the announcements, full flight, blah, 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 stand by all this. So now we're getting ready to board and I go up and I'm like, I don't have a seat. And she goes, well, I got a couple people that I need to take care of, but you should be okay. And I'm like, I should?
When are we going to figure this out?
That's what I said. I said, we should be?
Time's a ticking, Gladys.
And so I raised hell. They were getting ready to bump me again from my flight. And I raised an absolute S-fit. S-fit. Because the lady was like, well, you have a saver. I said, I understand I have a saver. I get it. You've already moved me. I'm here at the airport on a flight that you moved me to that I didn't want to be at. And
I'm here because you told me to be here for this.
I didn't even get the $25 coupon that you offered. If I changed it on my own in the first place, you are not bumping me off this flight. I said, I would like a seat. And the lady was like, okay, hold on. So I just stood at the gate for like 5 minutes. And then I got so there was 21 rows on the plane. And guess who's in 21D? Right next to the bathroom. Seat doesn't recline.
Nice.
This guy.
Nice.
21D. So that being said, let me tell everyone out there, from the Alaska service person, under no circumstances buy the Alaska Saver fare. Would have been nice to know when I purchased the ticket. And by the way, when you search flights, the very first one that comes up is the Alaska Saver fare.
Boy.
Don't do it.
I'm going to have to be careful about that. We have the Alaska Airlines credit card, and we like flying Alaska. Alaska's obviously a great hub out of this area because it flies to so many other destinations, but got to watch out for that Saver.
Because apparently when you buy the Alaska Saver, they can do whatever they want. I believe they can molest you on the plane, and they're like, wait, did you get this? You're like, someone touched me inappropriately. Did you get the Saver ticket? Yeah, sorry. Nothing we do about it. You're going to on the naked guy the entire flight? The entire flight. You're in the crapper. I don't want to be in the crapper. Did you buy the Saver ticket? Yeah, sorry. If you read the fine print, you're in the crapper.
I really hope that the Southwest want to get away fare is not the same because that might be what I'm flying here in 2 weeks.
Southwest gets a ton of flack. I like Southwest.
I like Southwest too. I've never had an issue other than when they made our football team fly in it and they put all the 300-pounders together. That was Bush League.
Do you remember the name Troy Dannon?
That does sound familiar to me.
He used to be UW's AD. He's now Nebraska's AD.
Yeah, he was the guy that left after like
and he
3 months.
Is making some waves today, and he's got Oregon's name in his mouth. We'll explain next on 1080 The Fan.
It's
about people shooting at things in the Portland area, as well as a pet gender story that is somewhat unique. But first, need to get to some college football news. We knew the name Troy Dannon around here because he was the AD at UW that didn't get Kalen DeBoer re-signed.
Yeah, well, he was the UW AD for a couple of months.
Like 6 months,
And then he
like
was-
8 months, something like that.
and then he was gone.
He had been, I can't remember what school he was at first, but he had been in the Midwest.
I thought he was at Troy, wasn't he?
Maybe that's it. But there were reports that his family never moved out to Seattle.
Yeah.
And then he ended up taking the Nebraska athletic director job after leaving UW. So he spoke today, and Nebraska's in just an interesting spot, I think, because they're one of these teams that were a classic blue blood and don't have nearly as much to offer in the college football landscape today as they used to.
No.
And so he was speaking to their collective, the 1890 initiative. And this is what he said. He said, "Let me tell you something about NIL. It's not going to last forever. Here's what I think is going to happen, and I'm pretty sure I'm right. There will be an antitrust settlement this year in the courts. Part of the antitrust settlement, 1890, Nebraska's collective, is going to get banned. The collectives are going to go away. What's going to be replaced is athletic department revenue sharing with our athletes. In the budget of our athletic department right now, we have a $20 million placeholder in 2 years to share money with our athletes. It's in the budget right now. That goes back to the House Committee settlement we've talked about. There's 3 schools in the country, I think, that have that in their budget right now. That's Georgia, Texas, and us. We've got great advantages here. We don't have debt. We have great reserves. We have a great fan base and facilities. We have great advantages to addressing what lies ahead. Let's talk about what happens next in the next 2 years. NIL's not coming in-house. It's not going to be replaced by something else. At Washington, our football program last year had an NIL budget of about $10 million and went to the national championship game. This is where he gets Oregon in there. He says Oregon's is 23, Ohio State's is 23, ours here is not even 10. Says we have the facilities, we have the coaches, we have the fans.
Strays.
In the next couple of years, we'll be fighting an even fight, but right now we are not fighting an even fight.
Let me just state for the record. First off, that's not the reason why you're not any good. Shut up. You haven't been relevant in football in 25 years, and it's not because of NIL. Okay? It's not. Yes. Whether Oregon has a $23 million NIL, I don't know. They have a bunch of cash. And so does, but to say that Oregon is the only one, stop it. Right? Miami has a huge one. Ohio State has a huge one. USC has an enormous one. Any school that's competing for 5-star kids has to have one.
Yep.
So I understand for Nebraska, you don't have one. By the way, NIL is not going away.
I don't think so.
Good luck with that. Good luck putting it. But
it might look different. It might have different guardrails, but I don't think it's going anywhere.
They're saying NIL, it's not coming in-house. Really? Yeah, good luck with that.
Seems like it might. Have
fun in the courts on that one. Okay, NIL isn't going anywhere. You're now you're gonna pay athletes, but tell them that they can't. So his whole, this is such a bonehead thing. So I'm supposed to believe that, by the way, in the settlement, the House settlement, when all that goes down, yes, revenue sharing is coming, and they're saying anywhere from 22 to 23 million to start, and it'll go up based on TV deals, but. In that, they are saying that NIL isn't going away because of the fact that you just got your ass handed to you saying that you can't limit what an athlete can make off name, image, and likeness. So I'm supposed to believe that after getting your ass handed to you in court time after time again, that we're now going to get federal legislation that tells an athlete that he can't sell his name, image, and likeness? How does that work? Someone explain that to me. So yes, we're going to pay you in revenue sharing, but can the NFL or anyone else who, by the way, collectively bargains their name, image, and likeness, think about like video games and all that, but that all has to be signed through the NFLPA. You know what it doesn't prohibit? You as Patrick Mahomes going out and signing endorsement deals. So in what world is there legislation going to be passed after these court proceedings that's going to tell a college athlete that he can't make his money off name, image, and likeness? So whether it comes in-house or not, you're now telling me that boosters of programs aren't going to want to offer college athletes millions of dollars in endorsements, quote, to come be part of it?
Why would that change?
That's so dumb.
Yeah.
So a booster is going to be like, yeah, you're going to get a bunch of money coming here to play through our revenue sharing, so I don't need to pay you any. Meanwhile, Oregon, Ohio State's like, well, we'll give you money. We've got boosters with NIL pockets. That's not going away. So this Nebraska thing is him trying to bloviate in that eventually there's going to be an even playing field. No, there won't. This isn't going to change the uneven playing field. You're going to have to have the ability to pay your athletes, and schools.
You got to keep up with the Joneses.
And schools that are in the SEC and the Big Ten are going to have a massive advantage because they're making $80 and $90 million.
Yep.
And so you can slice basically to come up with $22 extra million in your budget for schools that aren't in the Big Ten and the SEC. It's brutal to have that every year. But the new money that's coming in the SEC and the Big Ten TV deals is more than this. It's more than 22 extra million. So just off your new TV deal alone, you can slice that off and your budget can stay the same and still pay your players. But you're still going to have NIL. You're still going to have to live in a world where you're going to have to pay players essentially to come there because someone else is willing to, unless through some act of God in Congress, they ban players from profiting off their name, image, and likeness. And didn't we just go through lawsuit after lawsuit
to make
after
sure they
lawsuit?
could profit off of that? Yeah, it's
So-
not going to go back in the box.
Nebraska is sitting here bitching and moaning and making excuses for why they're not good. Sorry, it's not 1997
And he's
anymore.
basically saying, hold on and wait till 2 years until we have an even playing field.
Well, what's dumb about Nebraska is the whole reason that they were a blue blood and why they were so good is because they are the first school that embraced weightlifting. They are the first school that went out and paid an actual strength and conditioning coach. That's what made them bigger. That's what made them faster. That's what made them stronger. They did it back in the late 60s, early 70s. Everybody lifts now. The problem is they don't realize that they were only so good because they had this advantage that no one else was using.
Differentiated them, yeah.
It's very similar to like if Oregon just continued to do the blur offense from Chip Kelly and never changed, right? You had a moment in time where you were ahead of everybody. They've caught up to you now. You believe that you should still be in this spot, but you were never in that spot to begin with if you don't get lucky and have this position that you basically created.
Well, and there's a couple things I think that go into that. Obviously, that's a huge advantage because you were in the forefront of things. But they also were They were a powerhouse back in the olden days because they were committed to it. But you go back into like the 1960s and 1970s. Most college football program, it wasn't a thing. It wasn't a moneymaker. It was a pride thing. The whole reason the SEC rose up, there was a great book. We had the author on years and years ago about the rise of the SEC, and it was a way for the South.
Great documentary, Saturdays in the South as
Saturdays in the South. It was basically a way that the South, obviously, Civil War and all that. And since then, the South were viewed as ignorant. They were viewed as dumb. They were viewed as country bumpkins. And so, at the turn of the century in the 1900s, football was an elite sport. It was dominated by Yale and it was dominated by Harvard. And it was viewed as like this gentlemanly sort of thing, the service academies, right?
Yep.
And the South got
service academies in Ivy League, basically.
and the South got tired of being made fun of. And so the South kind of like the reason why football is such a big deal, it was their way of giving the bird and saying, well, we're going to be better than your elites.
Yeah, you're not better than us at everything.
Yeah, and so Nebraska was one of these programs, right, that rose up. And then in the 1980s and the 1990s, right, they had the strength and conditioning thing. They got a great coach in Tom Osborne. By the way, they were one of the first people to really embrace facilities. Like I remember my brother played at Nebraska in like 1994 or something. And he would talk about how you went in their strength conditioning program, they went in their weight room, and it was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And not many people back then had it. And Nebraska was just ahead of the curve on so many things. And by the way, like you didn't get on TV every week. Nebraska did because Nebraska was a big deal. They packed their stands. It was this special place. Well, again, kick forward however many years, everyone has great facilities. Everybody. Nebraska's facilities no longer are special. They're great. They're nice. But
they don't differentiate them from other programs.
No, everyone has facilities now. Everyone has great facilities. By the way, you don't need to play Nebraska to be on TV. Everyone's on TV every single weekend at a big time program. All these things caught up. And all of a sudden, the idea of a kid who didn't grow up watching Nebraska, and so now I'm a 4 or 5 star kid. And by the way, where are most of the recruits coming from? They're coming from the West Coast, California. They're
Florida,
coming
Texas.
from Texas, down in Florida, and down into the South, right? So and then you get some of the Rust Belt in Ohio, right? You get pockets that Virginia. Those are your recruiting hotbeds. So if I'm a kid from Texas and I'm a 5 star kid, why would I go to Nebraska when I have Texas A&M, all the SEC schools knocking at my door? Kids from California have the ability to go to USC. They can come up to Oregon, which is increasingly becoming a go-to destination. It's national recruiting. That was the other one too, is back in the day, recruiting was very isolated. It was in your region. Not anymore. California kids, like look at Bryce Young, Heisman Trophy, California kid. DJ Uyunglele, when he was the number one recruit in the country, California kid, goes to Clemson. All over. Like there just isn't a reason for these kids anymore to go to Nebraska. So for Nebraska to stand up here and say that this is a money issue and that this is like it's an uneven playing field, stop it. You got lapped 2 decades ago. You got lapped when you fired who was the red ass that they fired that won 9 games every year?
Bo
Pelini.
Bo Pelini.
Yep.
When Bo Pelini was there, Bo Pelini was a red ass coach that no one wanted to play for, but he won 9 games there, and you canned him, and you've been chasing your tail ever since. So for Troy Dannon to stand up here and try to go on and on. Oh, by the way, as someone points out, steroids, because Nebraska was one of the first programs that embraced that too. Go look at the players in the 90s in Nebraska. Steroids. Yeah, that like, all of those things have caught up. Every one of those. So the idea that Nebraska is ever going to be a powerhouse again, and the only chance they have is because they got in the Big Ten and they're going to have a bunch of money. But when you have a bunch of money, cool. So does Ohio State, so does Oregon, so does USC, so does Texas, so does Ohio State, so does Alabama, so does LSU, so does Florida, so does Florida, you know. So if I'm a big-time recruit, why would I go to Nebraska over any of those programs? Why?
Yeah. Well,
because of the great education in Nebraska? Stop it. You're not relevant. You haven't been relevant. And the chances of you being relevant, not saying you can't, but the chances of Nebraska ever being anywhere, even a sniff of what Nebraska was in the 90s, good luck. At that point, why don't you pick a date and don't tell me, and then we'll both be surprised when it doesn't happen.
Real quick, before we move on from this, regardless of what Troy Dannon thinks about what the future is going to look like, what were your thoughts on the number coming out, Oregon, Ohio State, that $23 million is about their NIL budget? Did that seem high, low, about right? What were you?
That sounds about right.
And
I think that probably is a little high.
Yeah.
But we were told that when A&M freaked out when Saban called them out, we were told like what, 25?
Well, and Ryan Day himself of Ohio State 2 years ago, he told like a group of Columbus business people, it'll cost us $13 million to field this roster. And now they're saying it's almost double that.
The one that I have heard time and time again for a big time school is in the mid-teens.
Okay.
I've and again, it's weird because it's legal, and yet everyone's still very hush about it.
There's nothing officially public about it because it's not the school.
And it's also pretty wonky because like when who was the Nico kid that went to Tennessee?
Nico Laliva.
Yeah, like he supposedly got whatever it was.
8.5.
8.5, but it's not 8.5 for 1 year.
No.
It's broken up quarterly payments.
It's a commitment to eventually get you 8.5.
So
it's a
to
long-term
say
deal.
that he's an $8 million kid, no, he's a $2 million kid.
Yeah.
So you're never going to pay him $8 million because he's not going to stay 4 years. And then I've also heard from a ton of people that say, oh, well, reportedly this kid got $1.5 million. In reality, when you talk to the kid, he's like, nah, I got like 700,000. So the numbers we hear, one, they're wonky because it's not an upfront payment of $8 million. I do think, from my understanding, I've heard from a ton of people that those numbers tend to get inflated, and kids want them inflated because it makes them feel better about themselves. Like, oh, this is a $2 million kid. So 23 million, I don't know if I buy that. The number, again, I keep going back to it. I've heard anywhere from 13 to like 15, 16 million bucks for a truly elite program. And like you said, Day said 13 million.
And that was like 2 years ago he said that.
I think 13 million is a lot closer than 23. And maybe it's bumped up now, but do you need $23 million? I find that hard to believe.
And I'm not sure how we will ever prove it, but right now all we have is the word of Troy Dannon. It's time for us to get to In the News. What sex is that cat? That's coming up next. First, Will with SportsCenter. as well as story time with Joey Harrington and some golf audio when you think you're interviewing a Heisman Trophy winner, but that is not the case.
Whoops.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Plus, another spin the wheel day in the club. We left plenty of choose your own adventure on the board, and we will be getting to quite a bit of that.
Sex toy injury for 500, Alex.
Sex toy injury among our categories. But right now, without further ado, it is Friday, June 7th. It is time for In the News. And Suk, I know you're a Swede, so I'm wondering if you knew this little tidbit that today, June 7th, is the dissolution of the union between Norway and Sweden Day.
I did not. I was not aware of that.
Apparently, they warred back in the 1800s, and they were joined as the same country until 1905 when they were dissolved.
Oh, well, nuts to you, Norwegians. Go Swedes, although I love all my Scandinavian brothers and sisters.
I'm of Norwegian descent.
They're quite happy up there. They're very proud. Anytime you go up to any of the Scandinavian countries, they won't shut up about how on the happiness index,
Oh, yeah.
every country of theirs is in the top 8.
No, I'm happier than you are.
They're big fans of that. That's their big angry, or their big like beef is who's 1, who's 4.
Well, I'd be happy too if everyone was tall, hot, and blonde.
And everything, well, it's one of those things, too, where kind of everything gets paid for because everyone buys into the system. They're small enough nations that health care and, like women get, 18 months maternity leave and stuff like that. It's crazy, the things that they get.
It's not too bad over there.
No, it's not.
It's not the place to go if you want to start a business and get rich, but...
No.
Dude, if you're looking to just kind of, if you're one of those people that just kind of likes maybe staying in your lane, 55, 10-2, you do a lot worse than going over to one of the Scandinavian countries.
Indeed. It's also National Chocolate Ice Cream Day. Where does chocolate ice cream rank in? Because you're an ice cream guy, though, right?
I love ice cream.
So chocolate at the bottom, though, or near it?
Damn near the bottom.
Really?
I can't think of many flavors that I wouldn't rather have than chocolate.
You a fancy ice cream lad?
No, I mean, I'm fine. You give me a scoop of vanilla, a scoop of strawberry. But yeah, if I'm ordering ice cream, there's going to be some form of, like a pralines and cream or, like a cookie dough, something like that. But just chocolate, I get at it.
Well, and in general,
that's Bush.
I prefer my chocolate as an addition to the ice cream, whether that's in a chocolate syrup, whether that's a chocolate ribbon, or even like a chocolate cookie in a vanilla ice cream or in a, another flavor. I don't need the chocolate as the base, I don't
Chocolate
think.
needs to be like the third thing down the list. Like when you get like cookie dough ice cream, right? Vanilla is the base, and then the cookie dough being 2, and then the chocolate chips in there, it's third.
Yep,
As long as chocolate is the third thing, like Moose Tracks, right? I got my vanilla, I got my caramel, I got my nougat, and then they get the little chocolate pieces. Chunky Monkey is a delightful ice cream.
People love Chunky Monkey.
Ben and Jerry's.
But you're a banana guy.
Yeah,
I like you love banana pudding.
Yes.
I've never been a banana flavor I mean, I eat a banana almost every day, but I don't know when it comes to the dessert goods. I'm not anti-banana. I'm not partial to the banana.
Love it. Banana cream pie, bananas Foster's. Again, Chunky Monkey, my favorite of the Ben and Jerry's.
What's in
flavors.
that besides? It's banana ice cream is the base, right?
Yeah, it's vanilla, banana ice, and then there's
peanut
like
butter
banana
too,
pieces, and then there's like little chocolate pieces in there.
Okay.
Chunky Monkey. It's chocolate and peanut butter, and again, that chocolate chocolate and banana are the main components to it. It's delightful.
It's also National Donut Day. Got a favorite donut?
Now we're talking.
Greenfield.
All donuts are good. All donuts are good. Give me a fritter, probably.
Love
Apple fritter,
a
cherry
fritter.
fritter, blueberry fritter, cherry fritter. Just a fritter. That's my power. But then you got like the Boston cream. You got the Bismarck. I got the jelly.
Wait, what's the Bismarck?
The Bismarck, it's like a Boston cream.
Okay.
It's a cream-filled
It's a
donut.
filled.
And then you get into like the Maple Bar is a great donut. The old-fashioned. There's
Glaze.
yeah. You get the standard glazed. Got a cinnamon twist. Donuts it's fried bread, for God's
Yeah,
sakes.
it's delightful, and I'm partial to the old fashioned. I like the old fashioned. I like a little more density to my donut.
And this may be a controversial take here. The donut can go too far. There's too much.
Sure.
Everyone craps on Voodoo Donuts. It's an institution. I get it. Everyone,
It was, and I don't know if it's the first of its kind, but it was the flagship of zany donuts.
It's become so popular now that everyone hates on it because once something becomes popular, then you have to hate it. Taylor Swift.
That's what we do.
But I will say with the Voodoo Donut, there's too much going on. We need to. You got too much.
Taylor Swift,
Too much. My donut needs to be. It needs to be simpler. There is a thing of you just do too much. You're trying too hard. Scale it back. Go with go with like 1 or 2 kind of flavor profiles on there. But some of their stuff, you got like 8 million toppings on that thing, and you're missing the essence of the donut, which is fried bread.
It's National VCR Day. Will, do you know what a VCR is?
I do. I used to have one where I watched my old Disney movies.
Okay, fair enough. Suk, when's the last time you owned a VCR? Do you still have one?
Oh, God, no.
I feel like people kept them around because they had VHS tapes that they wanted to hang on to, but I can't. It's been forever since I've had a VCR.
When I moved out of Souk Mountain, when I moved from my first home in the center, which was probably 15-ish years ago, I did not have a VCR. And when you move, you just clean out a bunch of crap. I probably had 300 VHS tapes.
Oh.
And I was like, what the hell do I do with this? And I put them on Craigslist. Free.
Oh, someone wants them for sure.
Put them on Craigslist. Oh, my God. Like, there was anything I've ever sold, and I guess I didn't sell, I just give it away. I've never seen more people flock. And I was like, who has a VHS anymore? I hadn't had a VCR. Couldn't tell you when the last time I owned a VCR. And those things were gobbled up in like 8 seconds. And people just kept, I'll come right now. Dude, they're gone. Do you have any more? It was a thing. So there was still a market for them.
Suk, do you have anything against red light cameras?
Oh, yeah, that's un-American. I think if you send me a red light ticket, I should be able to send you a photo of my money. That is horse nears.
Would you ever take your gun and shoot at one?
I'm not saying I would, but also I do think that that's kind of an American patriot 1776 thing.
I was going to ask you, villain or hero, because one man in southeast Portland, they're trying to find him. They have video of 5:10 Monday morning, a guy pulling through a southeast Portland neighborhood in a Subaru WRX around Washington Street and 103rd, just shooting out the camera light.
Tell you right now, that man goes to trial and they put me on that jury, man's not getting convicted. I will acquit 100%. There's no way you could put me on that jury and I would find that man guilty.
Of course, they had to interview a local neighbor, and Nick McCullough said that he's lived in the area for about 6 months. He thought it was an aggressive way for someone to express their displeasure with the traffic camera ticketing system. Said that is pretty aggressive, and it's probably somebody that got a ticket and is a little bit angry about it.
Oh, yeah, Sarah, there's video of it, huh?
Yeah, they got him going right through there.
Hey, that's a pretty good shot. You know, hey.
There are elements of it that is impressive. Then additionally,
don't they have his license? I mean, they got him
no.
dead, right?
So no license plate.
No license plate.
He whether he knew he was gonna get caught with his license plate and wanted to make sure that didn't happen, or he just has a stolen vehicle, rolled through that intersection with no driver's license license plate on him.
I'm not gonna call the man a hero because what's a hero? But sometimes there's a man for the time and place, and that's the dude. That's phenomenal.
Maybe
I
less.
hate those stupid red light cameras. And by the way, speaking of the Scandinavian countries, they have those in Iceland everywhere. Parking cameras, everything, because everything there is like it's like on your honor system to pay. So and when you go to leave the country, they will not let you leave unless you pay it. And
They just give you a bill.
I racked up, yeah, because when they were like, when you go to return the rental car, they're like, yeah, you owe. I was like $180. I was like, what are you talking about? I'm not paying that. And they're like, well, you parked here, here, and here. And I was like, I don't remember any of that. And they're like, hold on. And they just bring up crystal clear HD video of you doing everything that they're accusing you of. And you're like, oh, yeah, And they have your credit card when you rent the car. So the country actually does it through like the rental car agency. They just take that out, by the way. You don't have a choice. They're like, yeah, this is coming out and here's the proof. Good luck fighting it. And you're like, oh, yeah.
I guess I just have to fall in line then.
Just let you know, if you go to Iceland, be aware everything you do is on camera and you will be charged for it.
Well, there were also shots fired down in Newburgh of a different variety. We'll get to that next on In the News on 1080 The Fan.
This is the Fan's window into sports.
More minutes for a couple stories in the news. It is Friday, June 7th. I mentioned that we also had shots fired down in Newburgh. No, they were not at a traffic camera, but it appears somebody shot at the pride flag hanging in the library window. They've broken said window. It appears that it was BBs that were shot. The mayor says we can't tell whether or not the flag was, or whether the person had an ulterior motive, but they are cowards.
Shooting at the pride flag now.
And apparently the
BBs,
library
not bullets.
still has its original glass from 1912 installed, but what was shattered was the glass that they installed in front of the old glass, so the old glass still intact.
Imagine being such an ignorant rube and such a dumbass that you're worked up about a flag over someone's lifestyle that you decide, what the hell?
I think that flag...
I need to shoot at it?
I think that flag caused a whole lot of issues in the Newburgh School District as well, if I'm not mistaken, or at least Newburgh Public Schools.
Whatever. Good luck to you out there, man. If you're so angry about that, if that affects your day-to-day so much, I feel bad for you. I really do.
It might be, for the person who shot at that flag, you may have issues with this as well, because local pet shelter, we have an animal that might not be a male, it might not be a female, we're not quite sure how to gender it. We have a hermaphrodite cat.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's those in the human world. I'm assuming that those exist in the animal. I mean, we're just hairless apes.
The
Some of us more hairless than others, but you know.
The Bend, Oregon Humane Society welcomed in a male tortoiseshell kitten. They first thought was a female, showing female reproductive parts, but then as this kitten developed, they also found testes. So they got both parts. This is Cinder, is I guess his name. I'm not sure how they've chosen.
I believe it's they, their, cis,
how to gender this cat, but they're saying male hermaphrodite cat.
The cat doesn't care.
How do you know the cat doesn't care?
You have to spay or neuter that. How does that all work? Although most of the time, those reproduce. At least in humans, neither set usually works.
Interestingly enough, that's how they found out. They were going to spay the cat, and they're like, "This cat has balls."
Oh,
so
you're like, "Whoops." All right, well.
Then I guess, do you spay and neuter, or what?
I don't know. I'm not up on my.
It does say that
my hermaphrodite.
The cat had ovaries, a uterus, and testicles.
Yeah.
So
like I said, I do know. I read something once where they were saying that the people that are born with that, that truly have developed both. They're usually both sterile and I guess what would be the male, like impotent. I guess.
Yeah, sure.
It usually doesn't. When you have two, it usually means you have none. So, but I don't know how that works in the cat world.
Just like quarterbacks.
There you go. Like quarterbacks. Can we respect the cat's privacy, for God's sakes? Just let the cat live its best life. Or do we have to turn this into some sort of political witch hunt, too, where we yell and scream about something that has absolutely to do with nothing in your day-to-day life?
What does the cat think about the WNBA and Caitlin Clark?
That's a great question. I bet that cat hates Angel Reese.
We need to know.
We do need to know. It's amazing how we get worked up over stuff that really doesn't affect you.
It is that cat's right to decide what that cat wants to be.
Hold on. What bathroom does it use? Sorry, litter box.
Do they have a specific hermaphrodite cat bathroom or litter box? Yeah.
That is true. Like, that was just the privacy litter box, I guess. Respect it.
It's got its own litter box.
The cat can choose which litter box until someone else's cat is like, no, they get really angry because they don't want the male cat using their litter box. Because it makes their female cat feel unsafe, something along those lines.
Well, in other animal news, we've had a lot of stuff washing up on the Oregon coast.
Man.
First,
What's happening in the water?
First, we had that super, I guess, from the depth, that anglerfish that came out a couple weeks ago.
Dude, that thing was straight out of
really gnarly.
That was nightmare fuel. That was like straight out of a Stephen King movie.
Of course, we had the dead whale in Manzanita that we talked about yesterday. But now in Gearhart, a hoodwinker sunfish, also known as a mola tecta, washed ashore, and this thing is huge, about 7 feet.
Yeah, what is with what's happening on the coast?
I don't know.
That stuff, and it was all bloated and stuff. It looks gnarly. I didn't even know what a what was it? The winker fish. Although anytime I hear winker, I think it's something
hoodwinker.
Else, the old hoodwinker. Yeah.
So
and of course, now we got to get photos with like someone like people mess. There was like the photo I saw was like some little kid, like and his dad were on the beach. You know they poked him.
They're
with a stick
poking for sure.
100%.
For
you
sure.
Know, you know they were poking.
Well, they've asked the Seaside Aquarium about it, and apparently they're consulting with someone in New Zealand who was able to point them in the direction of that species of the hoodwinker's sunfish.
Is that like? I mean, is it supposed to be here, or is it like? Why is it here?
So
in the
I
first
don't know
place?
if it's unclear whether it's uncommon here or if it's just uncommon to be seen on shore and it's generally out there. I have not found details about whether it's unique besides the fact it washed up, but it's a giant fish.
Yeah,
It's on the coast.
I wouldn't know what it was. Like if I was cruising on the coast and I saw that thing, I'd have no idea what it is. But you know what I would do? Poke it with a stick.
Naturally, as one does.
Anytime you're on the coast, the first thing you got to do when you're walking around exploring is you find yourself a good poking stick. It's the very first thing you do. Because you're going to find some crab shells that need to be poked. Probably going to find a jellyfish or two. Maybe like a pufferfish that you have to throw back into the water.
Ooh.
Yeah, because the poking stick can also be used as a throwing stick.
Maybe
Like
a significant migration update. I'm finding out from Tiffany Booth of the Seaside Aquarium that it was believed that hoodwinkers were only found in the southern hemisphere.
Wrong.
Not your neighborhood, pal.
Wrong. Now they're here.
But now they've been found here on the Oregon coast, as well as one in California and one in Alaska. So they've made their way north.
All right, well, I'm assuming they're harmless.
As far as I can tell, I've not read anything about any hoodwinker attacks.
Like
So
if you're like swimming around in the, not many people swim on the Oregon coast, but I don't know. Let's say you do a little splish splashy over there, going for like a polar plunge, and that thing like bumps into you. Ooh, I don't. That would.
yeah, I just hope you don't see it.
Yeah, because it's
big.
It's enormous. I'm trying to look up and see what kind of teeth this thing's got. Like if I don't know if it bite that because that. I mean, it looks pretty scary. I would have no idea because it doesn't really look like a shark, but it kind of does, and it's got like a.
And it's as long as Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah,
so.
that thing's huge. I'm looking at some of the photos, like with people. I guess it's pretty harmless because I see photos like people swimming with it, but that thing would be very alarming. I watch that River Show Monster all the time
Oh yeah.
with that Jeremy dude who's always out catching stuff. Some of
Uh-huh.
the stuff that dude caught in rivers, I'm like, oh my god, that's out there.
I watched Swamp People for a while. That was mostly just gators. That's all the time we have for In the News. Coming up next, it's time for our Hot 5 at 5, plus as a hot golf interview when you're not interviewing a Heisman Trophy winner. That's all coming up ahead on 1080 The Fan. favorite sports experiences. Earlier in the week, we were kicking around some of the best sports experiences we had heard of, thought of, and Joey's name kept coming up because he's done just about everything.
Yeah, it turns out being like a first-round quarterback, like a top 10 pick, you get to do a lot of cool things.
It gets you in some places.
Yes.
The resources are good. Yeah, everything from he's done everything from the Kentucky Derby to like the Manchester Derby and everything in between. It's rather impressive, that list, but want to get his thoughts on the best atmospheres in sports as well. But before we get to any of that, want to mention to you the Fan Golf Classic. We are almost sold out. We, of course, have the afternoon round fully sold out. We do still have some foursomes available for the morning round. It's on July the 11th. If you want to sign up, you should do that. It's going to be a really great time. We've got Victoricos out there. We've got Matt's Barbecue. We've got the booze is going to be flowing, both Michelob Ultra and Dewar's. We got our special Dewar's 6th hole. Well, we were trying to, I guess, impart our wisdom on you, or maybe just give you some whiskey to make your shot a little bit better.
That would be my guess. It's called Name and Juice. And I think we're trying to, like, if you have a single, like you just, I think we're trying to help some people this year. Some people don't have a foursome. We always get that.
Sure.
And I heard Danny and Dusty talking about that. I think if you email us or you get a hold of us, I think we're trying to accommodate that and maybe put together some like super groups. If you're just a one or two out there and you need some other people, I think we're trying to accommodate that this year.
And coming up in our next segment, we need an update on Officer Gillis because, Detective Gillis, as it may have been,
Gillis
from the Louisville Police Department.
It just gets worse and worse. Like you would think that before you go out and you just start
flapping your gums
and just making S up, don't you realize, especially as a cop, that like all this, like nowadays everything comes out, everything's on camera, or in this case it's not because you turned off your body camera. But this chaunch, and I support my police. I really do. I try to back them every chance I get, but every now and then,
some of the behavior ends up being indefensible.
It's just so stupid. And this jackass.
We will get to his boo-boo coming up next, but first, it's time for our Victoricos Hot 5 at 5.
Oh. Hot topics, hot opinions.
Oh, Charlie, I'm hot today.
And hot air. It's time for the Hot 5 at 5.
That's hot.
The Hot 5 at 5 on Primetime with Isaac and Sue.
No, I mean it. That's very hot.
The Hot 5 at 5 with Isaac and Sue. Brought to you on The Fan by Victoricos Mexican Food, the most popular burrito spot in Oregon. Online at victoricos.com. Number 5.
Couple notes out of the AFC West in the NFL. We reported yesterday about the scary moment at the Chiefs facility where their defensive lineman, B.J. Thompson, had a seizure and suffered cardiac arrest. He was, although stable, he was unconscious for a time. He's now awake and is still stable. Sounds like he is going to make a recovery, so some positive news there for him.
Yeah, that's always scary. And, this happens, it does. It has always happened. People with heart conditions, and just now, at least we're so better trained. Because most of the time when you have defibrillators on site, which everyone now is required to have, a lot of these don't have to result in deaths.
And then in some legal news, do you remember Randy Gregory and how his tenure in Denver didn't go so great, and then he hopped over to the Niners?
Yep.
Well, he is now suing the Denver Broncos for the over $500,000 worth of fines that they issued to him for THC use.
Oh, really?
So I don't know exactly how this works as far as what rules he had to adhere to and what rules the team could make and fine him for, but apparently he was using it as medication for disabilities or injuries and then was getting fined for it. So we'll have to see how that ends up.
Well, yeah, now you don't have to worry about it, but back in the day, Ricky Williams has got something to say about that.
Yep. Well, additionally, in the NFL, the Seahawks continue filling out their quarterback room. We know we've got Geno Smith, we've got Mr. Chicken Tendy Sam Howell, and now P.J. Washington joining the ranks.
Yeah, who cares? Really?
He has started. He started for Carolina a couple games last year.
Yeah, he was I get my stupid leagues mixed up, but he was Was he the XFL, or was
it might have been XFL?
He was the MVP of one of those spring leagues that no one cares about forever. And turns out when he got to the NFL, he was awful, and I mean dreadful. So
pretty good quarterback room.
Yeah, have fun. Man.
Three guys who started games last year.
That's great. That's awesome. PJ Washington.
Number Number 3.
How about a little baseball talk? The college super regionals already underway for a number of teams. I'm going to be honest, I kind of thought that they all started on Saturday, but that's just for the Ducks and Beavs. So we know for sure that Oregon starts at 11 a.m. tomorrow. They are in College Station taking on Texas A&M. That's their first game.
They're the 3. Well, Texas A&M is the 3 seed.
Yeah, they're the number 3 overall tournament seed, and actually, I believe Texas A&M is the number 2 betting favorite to win the whole tournament.
Okay, so tough sledding there for the Duckies.
And the number 3 betting favorite is Kentucky, who Oregon State is going to play, but Oregon State an even money bet against the Wildcats in Lexington. Their first game comes your way on ESPNU tomorrow at 3 o'clock. The Ducks, by the way, on ESPN2.
Well, I know, the Pac-12 title came down to one game at the end of the year between Oregon State and Arizona. I remember for a while there, Oregon State was as good as anyone in the country. So even though the Beavs, aren't one of the top seeds, as you mentioned, there are a lot of people that think that Oregon State can absolutely do this.
Number 2.
They've got the depth. They've got some horses. They may be able to make some noise. Number 2, our second round out at the Memorial today. And it was Adam Hadwin who had the lead after the first round. And currently it's Scotty Scheffler, surprise, surprise, who he was in second at the end of yesterday. Now he has a 3-shot lead on the field after firing a 4-under 67.
Now that he knows that Detective Gillis is unharmed, I think Scotty Scheffler can...
Not so fast. We have photo evidence with Detective Gillis. We'll get to that next segment.
I wonder if that traumatizes Scotty Scheffler when he sees the vicious injuries
So Hadwin,
to the pants.
Hadwin and Victor Hovland are the 2 golfers tied for second, 3 shots back at 6 under par. A couple other notables on the leaderboard. You have Ludwig Oberg, who is in 6th at 4 under. Then Tony Finau, Rory McIlroy, Xander Schauffele all tied for 7th at 3 under par.
It's a good leaderboard.
Nice little leaderboard.
Yeah.
Stop now. Let's do it.
That's it, baby. Shout it from the rooftops.
Number 1.
Number 1.
And then finally, we're starting to wrap up our winter sports. We got Game 1 of the NBA Finals last night. We'll get Game 2 later this weekend. And Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final starts on Saturday. So we got both championship caliber basketball and puck this weekend.
Yeah,
I think you'll be watching both?
Yeah. I mean, Game 2, the Game 1 last night was obviously a dud. I mean, they cut it to 8 in the third quarter. Boston immediately went like on an 11-0 run. Game 2 is a big one. I'll tune into that simply because, look, if in all 3 of their series so far, Dallas has been down by 20 plus in Game 1. 2 of those they've blown out, and then the second one they came roaring back and won that. They've won Game 2 in every one of those series, so Dallas can take a punch. And Kyrie's not going to play this poorly.
You wouldn't think.
But this is a must-win. Dallas is not coming back from 2-0 against Boston, so this is the series in Game 2. And then I'm just juiced for Edmonton. I like the Oilers. Again, I think, 1992, 93, the last time a Canadian team won the Cup. And I think Edmonton can do it. Florida's a hell of a good team, best defensive team in the NHL. But, I mean, you got 2 MVPs. Skinner's playing well inside the net for Edmonton. You're feeling pretty good. So I'm juiced for this. I'm legitimately fired up for this Stanley Cup.
I am as well. Today's Hot 5 at 5, as it always is, brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food, home of the best burrito in Oregon. They'll, of course, be out at our Fan Golf Classic. You can always visit them online at victorricos.com. Coming up next, video evidence. Detective Gillis's boo-boo and the $80 pants. That's next on The Fan.
The Fan Merch Locker
ranging questions for him about all these sporting events that he has attended. But first, we need to dabble in the world of golf. Of course, got the Memorial going on this week, but pales in comparison to the major that was the PGA Championship. That, of course, was the big Scotty Scheffler Detective Gillis incident that happened the Friday morning before round 2.
We have the vicious injury photos.
And now it feels like we've got a resolution to it, or at least more information that proves it might not have been that big of a deal. We heard from reports and the filed police reports that Detective Gillis, was dragged to the ground, dragged by the vehicle, sustained bruises and scrapes to his knee and wrist, and the dragging rendered his $80 pants unwearable or unusable. Well,
I don't know. It was beyond repair. I think you could patch up that. I think you could patch up the ass of your pants.
I would think so, because now the Louisville Metro Police Department has released a bunch of previously redacted documents from the Scheffler arrest, including a photo of Detective Gillis's injury and his infamous $80 pants. So you can see these photos at Lock Talk. That's LACHTALK. He's someone locally who's reporting on this, and he has the photos of both. And boy, let me tell you, that thing on his knee or shin or whatever it is, it's not even a raspberry, Souk.
To be fair, I was doing some gardening like a week or two ago.
Probably got beat up worse than that.
I was pulling some weeds, and I do think that is that's about the same. I too got a wicked knee burn, and then that raspberry on his wrist. Yeah, that's about what I got. I was dealing with some blackberry bushes that are trying to overtake my rose bushes. So yeah, there's a little bit of that, and then
it looks like he might have bumped into the corner of a table or something. I mean, it's so pathetic.
At least the one on his wrist, which looks like it's probably like where his wrist or where his watch rubbed against. At least that one appears to have broken the skin.
Yeah,
the one on his knee
there's a slightly bloody abrasion, but
on his knee.
the one on his knee's so bad.
It is just so pathetic.
And then the pants. We heard that the pants were essentially shredded, thrashed, ruined.
To be fair,
he's got a rip on his bum.
To be fair, if I had a pair of pants and it received this level of ass damage, I would probably throw those pants out.
I think that you would say they're ruined from like casual wear, but I also feel like the details that we got were like, they made it sound like unwearable. Like Marcus Luttrell, they're blown off his body as he went down the Pakistani mountainside. No, not even remotely.
Well, and then we've got like the video of Scheffler being arrested. You could tell he's just like, he's like, what? Like you tell he's like nervous as they're cuffing him. By the way, all 3 officers failed to turn on their body cameras. So there's no proof of anything that was told to Scotty Scheffler, even though we have like 5 different people that all said, yeah, we were told to go around it just like Scotty Scheffler said. Dude,
and then everyone else that shows up at the scene, of course, has their body cameras on. So it feels coordinated that it was not.
Dude, my goodness. What an absolute dip-ass this officer is. And again, state for the record, I support cops. I think it's a very tough job. I think the vast majority of them are good people. And some of the scrutiny they get, I understand it comes with the job. But in this, like, you do yourself no favor when you do crap like this. This is just so asinine. And I always thought the truth lies somewhere in the middle of this. And yeah, maybe Scheffler does have some small role in this. I thought that this was going to be more of him being crowned up. But
he really wasn't.
It really wasn't. This is just a case of
he seemed confused and flustered.
This is a case of an officer that had a power trip, was having and by the way, sounds like this is a common thing for him.
Yeah.
And he took it too far, and he basically hurt himself by trying to. Scotty Scheffler was going 1 mile an hour. It's not that hard to be like, okay, I'm gonna walk up to this and be like, dude, you gotta stop. But the jackass basically tried to dive into the window. He hurt himself. And by the way, hurt is such an exaggeration. This candy ass, I hate to say this about a cop, but you're just a bitch in this whole thing.
Well,
that is embarrassing. embarrassing.
Other documents now include other conversations of body cams with Gillis afterwards, and he says, "Well, I didn't expect to get run over."
Oh my
Dude, you
God.
didn't get he's on video saying that he got run over to his other cop buddies. No, you didn't.
No, you didn't. And then dude, if there is any justice in this world, and if those cops have any sort of sand in their boots, they make fun of this dumbass day in and day out. Someone, by the way, every time he comes into work, someone should go cut a hole right in the ass of his pants. I would do that for at least 6 months. And until he absolutely lost it. I would also like paint that bruise on my wrist, that little scrape, every time I would go in and be like, oh, Peter Griffin style.
Do you have a Band-Aid?
Ooh, How embarrassing for yourself that you said you were treated for your injuries. But you're like, you know what? I'm fine. It's protocol. I get treated for my injuries. Dude, you get those injuries from pulling weeds in your garden.
So, did you ever do any sideline reporting in your radio days?
No, I never did any sideline.
I know you've done some
stuff.
analysis and whatnot, but we had a situation, also golf related, not legal related, but we had a young intrepid reporter attempting to do an interview with one of the spectators at a golf event.
Yeah, this is rough.
Her name's Laura Withrow,
Poor Laura.
and I believe she works typically for the Corn Ferry Tour under the PGA umbrella, but she had an important interview with someone that she thought was a college football legend, and let's show you how that goes.
6 seasons in the NFL, arguably one of the best NCAA quarterbacks of all time at Texas. Picked up golf about 4 years ago. What's the biggest shift you make going from the ultimate team sport to now the ultimate individual sport?
Now, I apologize. You have the wrong person. I'm Everett Sands over Citadel, which I'm a football coach. But the thing is, the great thing about golf is I'm not only competing against myself, but I'm competing against everybody else.
This is your first pro-am ever played, and what's the best part of being out here?
Well, being out here is a great thing, and have an opportunity to play with some professional golfers is a intimidating thing, but also a great thing.
Good luck this weekend.
Hey, I appreciate it.
So we didn't hear the beginning of it, the toss from the studio or from the anchor coverage, but basically they told their audience that they were going to Laura and Withrow with Vince Young.
Yeah.
6 years in the NFL, a college football legend, one of the greatest players in the history of Texas. And what they got was an assistant coach from the Citadel, who, by the way, answers her question.
Everett Sands. I feel bad for the reporter.
I do too.
There's no way she conjured that this was Vince Young. Was Vince Young at
He doesn't even look like Vince Young.
Well, no, he's short too. Was Vince Young at the tournament? Do we know if Vince Young was playing?
Let me see.
Because if so, I hope it wasn't like, hey, there's a black guy. That must be Vince Young. I hope that's not the case. I find it hard to believe that this side of the reporter was just like, well, clearly she had no idea who Vince Young was. I hope it wasn't like, hey, he's the black guy. And she's like, well, there's a black guy. That must be Vince Young. Because as long as it's not that case, I feel bad for her.
I'm trying to find out if Vince was actually there, but then of course when you search it, you just get botched interview. Interviewer thinks it's Vince Young, and I do feel bad for her because clearly she didn't know. And then I'm not really sure once the guy you're interviewing tells you that he's not the guy you think he is, what are you supposed to do? She kind of like, well, so what do you think about your first pro-am? Rolls like it's no big deal. I guess what else are you supposed to do, though?
You have no choice at that point, right? You either just cut away from it or you just lean into it, and I guess she leaned into it. Good for Everett Sands, by the way.
Everett Sands.
For just going with it. I mean, the best would have been had he should have just pretended to be Vince Young. When you get asked that question, you pull a Ghostbusters. When someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes. It's like, hey, Vince Young, you should have been like, you know what? It's just like when I beat USC for the national championship. Just lean into it. Just lie. Go with Vince Young. See if anyone at home watching that thing, like, was there a lot of people watching that? How many people would have figured out that was?
I don't know.
That wasn't Vince Young. He's also wearing a bunch of Citadel stuff.
So it's the BMW Charity Pro-Am with the Corn Ferry Tour.
So do we know if Vince Young was in it?
I haven't been able to pull up a roster from the event yet. What I did find out is that she, I think, handled it about as well as she could have after the fact. She went on Instagram and posted, "It's great to work with great teammates. It's great to work at an event like this. Always learn from your mistakes, onward and upward." And it basically was like, what do you want me to say?
I found an article that says Vince Young golfs on occasion. That's about as close as we've gotten to if he was at that tournament or not.
Well, I'm looking here. There is a leaderboard, but like obviously Vince wouldn't be on there if he occasionally golfs.
So announce their celebrity lineup.
Yeah, we need the celebrities.
Well, it appears that Vince Young's included because he's on the head of their PowerPoint prepresentation about who's showing up. So
at least
seems like he was supposed to be there.
So I gotta believe that's all this turned into is that someone told this lady, "Hey, Vince Young's here. Go talk to Vince Young." And she probably responded with, "Who's Vince Young?" And someone indeed probably went, "He's the black guy." Because I'm looking here, who else is there? So like
Larry the Cable Guy.
So we got Canelo Alvarez, right? Kevin from The Office,
as well as David from The Office, the boss.
Yeah, Larry. Again, you mentioned Larry the Cable Guy.
Seth Curry, not Steph, but Seth is there. Ryan Leaf is there.
Look, I got to be honest here, boys. The guy from Rascal Flats. I hate to be the one.
Rascal or Flats.
That's Joe Don Rooney, old Joe Don. There's an NFL defenseman. I think, unless because I don't know who Emmy-winning director Justin Whelan is. I don't know.
I don't either.
Guys, I think he might be the only black guy there. I think this may be
Seth Curry mixed.
Yeah, but he, that's no one's confusing him with Vince Young.
No, that's true.
Debbie Dunning, the Heidi from Home Improvement, the replacement for Pamela Anderson, was there. I wonder if she's still hot.
Ooh, American Idol winner Philip Phillips.
I honestly believe that this is we know what happened. Someone said, "Go get Vince Young." Who's Vince Young? He's a quarterback that played in the NFL. What does he look like?
He's black.
He's the black guy.
Yeah. I do have hot Everett Sands stats for you.
Ooh, give us
if you want them. He's a 4-time All-Southern Conference running back at the Citadel. He ranks second all-time with 3,926 yards.
Oh, he could play a little bit.
Had 16 career 100-yard rushing games. In his collegiate career, he carried the ball 741 times without ever being tackled behind the line of scrimmage.
Whoa.
He served as the team captain in 1993 and was inducted in the Citadel Athletics Hall of Fame in 2004.
So interview-worthy, but still decidedly not Vince Young.
I love this story simply because that is exactly how this went down.
Yep.
And if that's the case,
the more we read about the field, the more clear how this could have happened.
It's terrible. I feel bad for everyone involved. But think about this. This would be the equivalent. Will, if you and I were playing let's go down this road. If we were both playing in the HBCU Classic, right?
I did play in an HBCU bowl game. I played in the Dream Bowl.
There you go.
That was
that
was the end of my career.
We're playing in that game in some sort of celebrity flag football thing or whatever. And you throw it down to the sideline reporter and they're like, "Hey, go get the Sakana guy." And they're like, "Sakana, what is?" "Oh, he's the white football player." And they went and found you. You in no way could be angry at her. You'd be like, "Yeah,
he's the white bald guy. Looks like an O lineman. What do you want?"
White bald guy looks like an O lineman.
I lean into it when it happens now. I go to our gym all the time, and people will come up and be like, "What's up, Big Sook? Hey, man, how you doing?"
See?
And then I usually pick my nose or something, so they think it's you.
See, Lena, I absolve her of any blame. That is not on her. Good for Everett Sands. Little awkward, but hey, man, we've all had that where, you think it's someone and whoops. It's on Everett Sands at that point to just lie and pretend that he's Vince Young.
Better days ahead for Lauren Withrow, hopefully. But
she is having the time of her life.
Yeah, I guess you could go the way of, what was that guy's name? Sergio?
Sergio, whatever.
Just something.
By the way, is it cool to be because I'm looking through this list of celebrities, and believe me, that is a very...
Well, it's the Corn Ferry Tour, so it's it's the...
That's a very
didn't make the
loose-
PGA Tour
No.
celebrity pro-am cut.
Yeah, that's a very loose term. But if you're like Philip Phillips, is that cool? Like, I'm sure the
American Idol winner Philip Phillips.
That's the one.
Sir.
Like you're probably getting, like, you go to the Corn Ferry Pro-Am, you're probably getting some sweet stuff, right? You probably get like a cool golf bag, maybe like a driver, you get some free shoes, you get to play a nice course. Like that's probably pretty cool, right? But at the same time, like, do you feel like an absolute like yutz if you are Olympic curler Matt Hamilton and you're there? Because I have been invited to play in like different tournaments that are just local tournaments, and I feel like such an asshat when they're like celebrity golf
Local
tournament.
celebrity
And I'm
Jason
like,
Takanek.
whoa. We need to dial back that celebrity. All right, this is a local tournament you couldn't find anywhere else, and so I'll do. But like, I just wonder, like, if you are, if you're crowned up, if you're Joe Don Rooney of Rascal Flats, and you're like, that's right, you remember me from 1996? Here I come.
We remade that "Life Is a Highway" song. People loved it.
Yeah.
Good text from the Vancouver 4 text line saying you could argue that Coach Sands is the Vince Young of Citadel football.
I like it. That's where
So
we
maybe-
go.
maybe that's why
what
she
he
picked him.
is. He is the Vince Young of Citadel football.
Story time with Joey Harrington is next, but first, Ortner has a Sports Center update.
Now,
He is still in the great American city of Salina, Kansas, but Joey still kind enough to join Souk and I. And Joey, earlier in the week, we were discussing on the show some sports bucket list items or experiences, and I know there's been the long-standing joke that Joey's basically done everything from Ryder Cups to World Cups to and everything in between. But I had this idea yesterday when we learned that the United States is now a cricket superpower. Have you ever been to a cricket match?
No.
We got one thing you haven't done.
And then additionally, I thought, because the Oregon Ducks haven't been there, at least since you have been an Oregon ambassador of sorts, have you gone to Omaha before?
No.
Would you go if the Ducks won their Super Regional?
Wait, like right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're in the Super Regional this weekend.
Well, I knew that, but when? Okay.
So I think it would start. I think it would start next weekend.
Yeah.
That was my hesitation. I think it's going to be right during my Bandon fundraiser.
There you go.
Well, and isn't it next week? Is next week Father's Day?
That's correct.
No,
yeah.
next week is Father's Day.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's.
I would go in a heartbeat. Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I've heard from people. Those are like, one, I've never been to a cricket match. Don't know if that's going to happen. But the College World Series.
I don't get it.
No one does. We talked
can't
about
figure
this
it out.
yesterday. Like it.
What I don't understand is how can a match go multiple days? That's the thing that I don't understand.
I don't either.
You got to be able to start and finish. Like, how are you supposed to know, honey? I'm going to go to the cricket match. You know, well, yeah, okay, great. What time are you going to be home? I don't know, Thursday. Like, how does that work?
Or do you buy tickets to day 3 ahead of time and like hope that it gets there?
It's like
or
a golf tournament.
how does that work?
mean, golf has that. Golf, you show up on Thursday, you don't finish till Sunday.
No, but those are specific, those are specific designated times. In cricket, my understanding is you could start a match on a Saturday and not be done until like October, with one match. It's not like you're playing 173 holes of golf. You play 18. And then if you're tied, you play a few more.
Well, I have no idea.
I guess maybe that's the
allure. I have no idea. I always thought that too, that it went multiple days. I don't remember when. It was like maybe like a year ago or 6 months. Someone tried to tell me, I don't know why cricket got brought up, but someone said that they play like a new form of rugby now where it's done in one day. But even with that, I still don't.
Rugby?
Well, rugby, I was thinking cricket. Sorry, I was thinking rugby because now they do like rugby sevens.
Right.
There's like a condensed version of rugby to try to make it more fan friendly, right? So they have like rugby sevens, and it made me think about that because someone told me that they do like I don't know what you call it, like a condensed cricket where it's in one. It's like one match. It doesn't go for multiple days. But even that, one, I don't know if that's true because I'm not going to fact check it. And two, I don't even understand, even if you did tell me it was over in a day. Like the U.S. beat Pakistan, and it was 157 -9 to 157-3, and the team that was 157-3 won. I thought it would be the one that was, first off, dash. How is that in the score? And why isn't the -9 better than the -3? It makes no sense to me.
I have no idea, but whatever you just said reminded me of another thing that I've been to. So I went to the Six Nations Rugby Championship.
Oh, okay. Where was it?
I am so jealous of that.
It was Ireland against Wales in Cardiff.
Oh.
And we just happened to be me and a couple buddies, we were just bumming around Ireland playing golf, right? In the off season. And it was like, yeah, let's go to Ireland and we stopped in to see, got in touch with Padraig. It's like, hey, we're going to be coming along. And, it's, oh, great. I'll set you up with my buddy. He's a member out at Port Marnock. And we went out and played that day and we came back. And he's like, oh, what are you guys up to? We're like, I don't know. We're just kind of playing golf and drinking Guinness. He's like, oh, well, we're going to the Six Nations Rugby match championship a little later. Do you want to go? We're like, yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, is that a problem? He's like, yeah, no problem. I just got a plane over here. It's just a quick, I'm thinking it's like down the street in Dublin. He's like, no, it's in Wales. And so we just hopped in his car and he just drove us over to the plane. And, 19 minutes later, we're sitting there in Cardiff and watching Charlotte Church sing the national anthem. And Wales actually won that year, which, but it was the first rugby match I've ever been to. I was like, man, this is kind of awesome. I don't get it. Again, another sport I don't understand, but hey, kind of awesome.
That's one, like the World Cup was last year, and it was in France. And great match. New Zealand and South Africa were in it, and I love rugby, and that's always one that's on my bucket list. Is I think the next one's in New Zealand or Australia in 4 years. I love rugby. That's one that I wish. Like, if you could make a sport popular in the U.S., like I've gotten into soccer because I go to all the Timbers games, and I like soccer just fine. But if I could make a sport more popular, bring it here, I would think that Americans would love rugby. As much as we love football and we bag on soccer, it's like a nice combo of it. I think we could get into rugby if people grew up with it and understood it.
I don't disagree. I'm just trying to think of why, I don't know. Is it too British? Is it too elite? I mean, I think of like rugby and like Cal versus Yale or something.
Yeah.
I just think of Cal rugby.
Well, is it too close to football and not football enough?
Well, all of our guys that would do it, like, dude, the rugby, you want to talk about men? Dude, you go look at New Zealand, South Africa, Ireland, whoever is a rugby powerhouse, Fiji. You go look at those dudes. I'm telling you, those dudes are units. But the problem is that anyone in the U.S. would just play football. So, like, you would have to convince, like, Myles Garrett would be the greatest rugby player of all time. But how do you convince Myles Garrett when he's 10 to play rugby as opposed to playing defensive line? Like, how do you convince Christian McCaffrey and these guys? It's the old argument we make about soccer. We can't get our best athletes to play soccer, but rugby is even more so because it is so close to the skill set of football. It's the same body type, and you can have bigger guys, faster guys. We could, if you took the NFL, God, and you gave them like 3 years to train, we would have just a nasty rugby team. But that's, but no one grows up playing it.
Yeah. You know what you said? I'm totally like, going off on tangents here. You mentioned France.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking of another sport that I haven't been, the French Open is going right now.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I would love, like, you said, okay, we've talked about this, all the, team sports that I've been to.
Yeah.
I've never gone to, like, the U.S., the tennis, U.S. Open, never been to New York. Never been to Wimbledon, French Open.
Mm-hmm.
The other one I'd love to go to is, and I just started kind of, not even following it, but it's more just kind of like, okay, that'd be interesting to see, is go to Monaco. Go to a Formula One race in Monaco. That's kind of like just going to the Kentucky Derby, right? The horses run, like, they go fast. I don't know, but being there, that's kind of cool. Like, that would be what, like, those are the next things to check off.
Well, I've heard that Monaco, I've heard that's like the greatest collection of wealth in the world assembling, and like the race is almost secondary. It's just, it's more of a people.
It's like going to the Cannes Film Festival or something like that. It's a people watching event of the society's elite.
That's what the Kentucky Derby is.
For sure,
on a less elite.
But I don't think they have an infield at Monaco, do they?
Yeah, that was my point. It's like it's less. You get up into the you get up into the boxes. There's plenty of elitism up there, but there's no infield down in at Formula One. Although that would be pretty freaking awesome to be standing. Like, it's cool to be down there with the horses going by. Can you imagine being down there as the race car goes by? That would be.
I got to go to the Indy 500, and they call it like pit day, like the qualifying, like the before, and we got through Ford. I got some passes, and we were able to go down on the track like qualifying, and it is.
Look at you, Mr. Big Shot. Well, I got to go on the track.
And watching.
Hold on, let me pick up the name you just dropped.
Ford Motor Company
got us some tickets. I played for the Lions, and I never got tickets through Ford.
The cars going by, the Indy cars, it's pretty spectacular. But like the Indy 500 it's just a party. Like they have an infield like rave that goes on during the race, and it's crazy. It's like a big foam party. Thousands of people, but none of those people, and this is during the race, none of those people watch the race. They have a big.
There's nothing to watch.
No, you get
literally. We went to Daytona. Well, I was at Daytona. It was the year. It was right before I got drafted, and we're sitting there, and it's like, all right, cool. And it's like, here come the cars, and vroom, vroom, they go down, go around a couple times. It's like, man, this is loud. Holy cow, they're going fast. What do we do for the next 400 laps? Like, there's like the initial, like, wow, this is cool. And at the end, it's like, oh my gosh, somebody's going to win. And in the middle, it's just like, where do I get another beer? Like, that's the problem.
But it's a spectacle. And this is why I always say it's hard for other sports to catch on. So you go to Daytona, you go to Indy, it's not the race that gets you. It's the vibe.
The atmosphere.
It's the atmosphere, right? You go for those things. And it made me think about this because, like, I've really gotten into live soccer. I go to most of the Timbers games. I go to a good hunk of the Thorns games, and I really enjoy them. It's actually kind of become my favorite local sporting event. Like, I really like going to those. It's a great atmosphere. It's fun. But you go around to a lot of the other MLS stadiums, it is not. We got something cool going on. I know they have it down in LA, but even with that, like, if I brought someone to the Timbers, you may not be blown away by it if you're not a soccer guy. But you see, Joey, you've taken your family. When you go to European soccer, I don't believe you can go to an Arsenal game and not come away feeling something. And when you don't have those environments in the States, it's hard to get people hooked. When you go to European soccer, I've been to a couple European soccer games, and boy, you walk away. If that was in my backyard, I can see soccer being my favorite sport. But it's hard to get people in the U.S. because outside of the World Cup, we never get those. Like, even our MLS championship, I was there when the Timbers played a couple years back. It doesn't even sniff the random Scotland-Germany game that I went to all those years ago. And that was just like a World Cup, either qualifier or friendly or whatever. Dude, it was a 10 times better environment than our MLS championship.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm really confused on all the things we've talked about so far. We've had a lot of. I've got, like, we need to go to a commercial break so I can sort out all the things and come back with something intelligent to say afterwards.
Well, your timing is impeccable because it is time for us to take one of those commercial breaks. Story time with Joey Harrington, brought to you by Mods. PDX will continue right after this, right here on 1080 The Fan.
It's time for a Ducks Report, the inside story on
Make sure Joey has his thoughts in order for this next segment. We don't really know where we're going either, but Joey, do you have any further thoughts after you had the break to think about things?
So, okay. I had a moment when I first went to the Timbers, let's call it like, what are we talking about, 2014-ish?
Yeah.
Would that be about right?
Sure, I think around there.
When did they become, when did they join MLS?
I'll take a look.
Okay. Use your quick computer electronic
I'm working
encyclopedia
I'm working on my Google phone. Well, I mean, the technically it began in 1975, but obviously that.
Yeah, no. The ML, yeah. So I guess my point is when I went that first time, and it was they only had the KeyBank side.
Yeah.
Right? They didn't have anything Duracell, Toyota, Tanner Ridge, anything else up top on that side. I remember walking out of there thinking, and it wasn't, and this was kind of during the time when, was there maybe a little lull in Oregon football, or people had gotten, you know what it was? People had gotten really accustomed to just blowing people out with chip, right?
2011, by the way, was the year. 2011, their first year.
Yeah, so it would have been like 2012, like right before Marcus got there, kind of after the national champ, kind of that. Yeah. And it was just like people at Autzen, they were great, they were loud, but it was a little different, right? It was the atmosphere at Autzen around 2000, call it 10 to 15, was different than it was from, 97 to the stadium expansion. Right. I wonder, when you were talking about the feeling, like that atmosphere, those first few years at, I guess what was this, Jeld-Wen, or was it Providence? What did I call it? Civic Stadium.
I think it was Jeld-Wen at the time.
Yeah, we'll call it Civic. Yeah. It was rocking.
Yeah.
Like I remember thinking, like, by no means does it compare with the actual decibel level of Autzen, but in terms of like being rowdy and being like from start to finish, like nobody is leaving out early because they're winning by 50. Yeah. Nobody's showing up late because because you don't show up late in soccer or else you miss half the match. But I remember, and that was my first real soccer experience. Outside of the Chelsea match at Stamford Bridge. And I was like, this is pretty good. I think since they've added seats, tickets are more readily available. Most games are sold out-ish, right?
Yeah.
I think everybody kind of goes through that little bit of a lull. And so I would say that it's fair to say if you brought someone to the atmosphere at Providence Park right now, it's awesome. Like you said in the first half, it is hands down my favorite Portland sporting experience. Timbers, Thorns, we got season tickets. It's a family. Like we go to dang near every match as a family. Like that's our thing. But yeah, there isn't the. I would say that with the exception of the absolute rowdies with the Army and the Riveters, the buzz from the rest of the city has kind of mellowed out a bit.
Yeah, I could see that.
And do you think?
I don't know if you'd say that with Arsenal or Manchester or the Scotland, the random Scotland match that you went to. Yeah, there is something different there.
Yeah, and I'm an environment guy. I'm a big believer in that. When you create a buzz and you have a great atmosphere, that's what draws people in. Because with the exception of the Cubs or the Red Sox, something like that, the Cubs can be the worst team and they're going to draw 20,000 at Wrigley on a Wednesday afternoon. It's just it's an institution. But outside of that. Like, I always laugh because people are like, well, we need diehards. No, you don't. You need casual fans. Diehards are always there. They always show up unless you're the A's. Like, it's the casual fan. It's the person that isn't necessarily a diehard hockey fan or soccer fan or football fan. Those are the people, when they show up, that's where it goes from a good environment to an unbelievable environment. That's what the difference between 14,000 people and 22,000 people is, the casual fan. I know we all hate bandwagon fans, but that's what drives great environments, is when you get those people and create those great environments.
I might push back on you. I'm going to push back. I'm going to push back because I don't know that 8,000 casual fans create the environment that we love. Like, you don't have casual fan, like the casual fans of of European soccer, they don't go to the matches. They're watching it at home. Like, the people at the European soccer matches are the ones who are drunk and screaming and taking their shirts off. And
so can all 30,000 be a diehard?
That's what, like, how do you get all 30,000 to burn road flares at Province Park? Like, that's the question.
But here's my thing. I think when you go, right? So I'll push back and I'll topspin lob it back your way. Is that I think when
topspin? Are we going to Wimbledon?
Absolutely. We're putting some stank on that. When you
road flares at Wimbledon. Yes.
When you give me, like, I remember I went to one in Amsterdam, and I forget what team it was, whatever team was in Amsterdam, but I went to an Amsterdam game.
Ajax, maybe, something like that?
Yes. And it was like, dude, it was crazy. They had like barbed wire for like the visiting team. Like, it's insane. And I was like, holy crap. And at that point, it was probably like my second soccer game I'd ever been to. But I show up to this thing, and you got all the diehards that are going nuts. And what those diehards did was get me going nuts. And before I know it, someone is teaching me the song. And now I'm singing the song. And now I'm screaming. So yes, the diehards said it. But when you give me 10,000 diehards, that's one thing. But when you get 10,000 diehards leading 10,000 other people that are there and they rope them in, now you got something special. Now you've got something freaky, and it's like, holy crap, this is the best thing I've ever seen.
You literally just explained my first Timbers experience to a T.
Really?
Is I went with a friend who had season tickets, and, I'm just newly retired and trying to, what the heck is going on here in Portland? He's like, you got to come to a match. And I show up and the Army starts singing. I was like, do those guys ever stop? And he said, nope. And he's doing the chants and, starts, it was like casually singing, not like the Army. And that's exactly what happened is he starts teaching me. And then I start PTFCing. And then, and then when I root for the Timbers. And then, and then, actually, probably wasn't that game. Although I did. Here's another story time. Is a few years ago when we were playing the Sounders, my youngest, and you just go and what's the chant where they help me out here, Suk. There's a chant where it ends. Well, anyway, they start with the F Seattle, right?
Yeah.
And my youngest looks at me and he kind of has this, look on his face. Okay. I was like, just because they're saying it doesn't mean that you need to say it.
But like, that's what gets you. Like, so I always give people a warning about bagging on the bandwagon and, oh, you got to be here from the beginning. And I disagree with that. Cause I think, I think the bandwagon fan or the casual fan that shows up because it's a great environment, they want to be a part of it, you should embrace those people because I don't know, I just think that's when you get really, really amazing environments is when you get the leaders and then they rope everyone in, and before you know it, you got 22,000 people rocking. I love it. That's why I love going to the Timbers. I go for the environment as much as I do the game. Is just being there for the the raucous environment. And when anytime they score, I just turn to my buddy and we're like, light the flares, and we get it. It's I've always joked like one of these days I want to be the one to light the flare. I love it. It's just it's a cool thing, and I always wish baseball. Like when I was in Japan a couple years ago and I went to a Japanese baseball game, and I had been to one 20 years ago over there, and I was telling my kids, I was like, trust me, when you go, you'll never want to go to an American baseball game again. They just do it better because they do European soccer, but with baseball. And I wish we could embrace some of that. And I don't know if we're too cool for school over here or, it's tradition or whatever, but man, if we would just embrace that going to these things isn't, the game is great, but it's a party too. I don't know, I just think we would, I think we'd be better off if we put our arms around that notion.
Well said, friend. Well said.
Well, so I was the last thing I was going to ask you, Joey, then, and for Suk as well. Both of you guys clearly on the soccer train when it comes to impeccable sports atmosphere. Of all the different sporting events you've been to, with atmosphere at its highest, which sport has the best vibe or has the best energy? Is it soccer for both of you, or is it something else that even exceeded that.
Okay. Well, let's think through this. See, there's a difference, though. Like we're what we're doing here is it's a different conversation than being at like major sporting events and having the atmosphere. Because like we've talked about, the major sporting events, they're dull, they're boring.
Super Bowl.
Yeah, let's say big regular season game in any sport, or I guess I mean, yeah.
Aside from Zidane headbutting the dude, like the World Cup final was really boring because you had 60,000 people from corporate sponsors that, you know, and you could barely hear the Italian or the French.
And that's how the Super Bowl always is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Boy.
Mine is soccer.
And it might be soccer.
Mine's soccer. And it's probably just because that's the best. I went and saw a Celtic Ranger game in Scotland. And if you don't know, look it up. Some people say it's the best rivalry in any sport, but I mean, it's a religious thing. It's the Catholics versus the Protestant. There's armed guards separating the two. And I've never been to anything, you know, and I've never been to like a Game 7 Stanley Cup Finals or anything like that. I would love to see something like that. For me, those European soccer games, I've never been to anything that would top those.
Like I'm trying to. So I've done Yankees Red Sox ALCS at Fenway.
That's good.
Boy, that's big.
And that was, I mean, you want to talk about, oh my God, like that might be, you know, walking up to the stadium there in Boston, you know, that may rival walking up to the stadium in, you know, where were we in Rome with Lazio, Juventus. Yeah. I've done, like, you know what else was NBA Finals with the Pistons? The Pistons and the Lakers. When the Pistons with Chauncey and Rip and Tayshaun beat
the Lakers,
they beat Shaq and Kobe.
Yeah, they did.
Mm-hmm. That place was going nuts. I mean, absolutely nuts. You know, I think if you have to go, like, if you're going across, like, game to game, just like you can get incredible atmospheres at a single game for any NBA Finals, right? For any ALCS. But if you're going to just a Tuesday night when the Pistons are playing the Cavs, like, nobody cares, right? But if Celtics, you know, if Celtic is playing on a Tuesday night, you better believe like the entire city is out. Like that's the difference. Is literally the entire city, the entire town, every single person, every business, every single thing is focused on that match, and that's the difference. Yeah. Is it just means more.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a bad thing. Maybe they just need to get something else in their life.
Yeah, when you do walk around, when they play every bar in Scotland, Edinburgh, Glasgow, whatever, there's big signs that say no colors. Mm-hmm. And you're not allowed to wear, I mean, think about it. In an entire country, you are not allowed, when they are getting ready to play, the week up, you cannot wear a green or a blue shirt into one of those bars. Otherwise, you will be assaulted. Like, they won't even let you in because they don't want to just start the fight. Imagine that in the United States, Lakers, Celtics, Red Sox, Yankees, and literally every bar in Boston saying
pinstripes are you're out.
And by the way, in Boston they would say no Red Sox jerseys either.
No
red, because they know that if a Yankee fan is walking around and they see you with a Red Sox jersey, it's on.
It's a different level.
That like you said, I don't think that's a healthy thing, but that's
what we're talking about.
That's what we're talking about. And that's why, to me, soccer just it's hard to say that there's a worse or a better environment than big time.
I don't know
soccer.
if I saw a Kamloops jersey or a Regina jersey walking around as a Winterhawks fan, I'm throwing. Yep, I'm throwing
Fade on sight.
It's on.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Joey, that's all the time we have for In Story Time today. Appreciate you joining us with whatever that was that we figured out.
Yeah, I don't know. We don't have to solve problems. Sometimes we can just have fun.
Absolutely right. Story Time every week brought to you by Mods PDX. Thanks so much, Joey. Talk to you soon.
See ya.
Coming up next in the club, one politician explains what the heck he was doing on Zoom that one time. We'll have the audio. That's next on 1080 The Fan.
Prescriptions
is we are green, we are white, we are effing dynamite.
That's
That's what he's looking for. What the whats? There you go. Yeah, kids chanting, it happens. I find little kids swearing to be adorable. I know you're like not supposed to, but like anytime my kids swore when they were little, I tried really hard to not laugh because then like you encourage it. But I'm sorry, little kids cursing, it's hilarious.
Yeah, I told you earlier today that I've had to bite my tongue a couple times because my kid's just doing some moderate to light back talking with like what he is and is not going to do when I ask him to do certain things. And we haven't gotten to the swearing yet, but I'm kind of looking forward to it if we're being honest.
Yeah, it's like I tried to do this with my kids when they were younger. Now my kids are all old and like it's not a big deal. They all curse around me and it's like whatever. When they were younger, I always said the same thing. I said, look, I don't care that you curse. It makes no difference to me. But I was like, realize that when you do it to like in front of other adults or people, you sound like a turd. Like it's not something that you want to get used to. And
there will always be people that it doesn't sit well with.
Yes, and like you don't go in. Like, they say all the time, like there's studies that like millennials now or whatever, Gen Xers, when they go into job interviews, like one of the worst things is like half the time they don't dress for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like people show up for like a nice job interview wearing like, like a Jay-Z t-shirt or whatever and like a pair of jeans. And it's like, well, that's one, you're an idiot. And two, they use inappropriate language. Like when you're meeting your boss for the first time, don't drop an F-bomb. Even if your boss starts cursing, be real careful. Like that's not real conducive. So I've always tried to tell my kids that, like, you're dealing with a teacher, you're dealing with a boss, you're dealing with a cop, you're dealing with whatever. Don't curse. Like it's just
freaking bitch.
Yeah, hold it together. But in your personal life, by the time my kids were like 13, I was like, I don't care. Like I remember my son like letting one slip out, or it might have been my daughter, I forget which one, none of the older two. They like let something slip in front of me and they had that look on their face like, uh-oh. And I was like, I don't care. I'm like, what? I know you curse when I'm not around. And for a while, they still didn't want to curse in front of me, which I respect. I appreciated that they like held it together, even though I swear like a sailor. Now they don't care. They just let them fly left and right. I don't give a rip. But as long as you keep that within like reason. But little kids swearing, oh my gosh, it is hilarious. My dog used to steal. Got a boxer who would always steal things out of my daughter's hand when she was little. They were about the same level, like 3 years old, 4 years old, and she would curse. My dog was Apollo Creed. She would curse at him, and oh my goodness. She'd have like a cookie or whatever, and Apollo would just come take it. She'd be like, Apollo, you son of a... like a 4-year-old
son of a bitch. Holy cow.
She is an aloof bitch.
I just would hear from the other room, damn it, Apollo! And I would just let him, then he would come right running. And I know he stole something. And it cracks me up.
My best friend has a 3.5 or 4-year-old, and he just sent the group text a video of her dropping an F-bomb for the first and second times. He got it, and he's like, this is amazing.
It is.
And you can see the look on her face that she's heard it somewhere before, knows it's not supposed to be said, and she's like, how does this sound when I try it out? It's a whole experience with kids. We need to get to some of our choose your own adventure because there's a lot to catch up with.
Lot to get to.
I will let you stew on some of these topics over the next break because in addition to the ocean predator fight, injured by a sex toy at the doctor's office, what'll get you banned from the sphere, I also have yet another concerning New York trends to go with our venomous spiders, as well as the only fight that Pat Sajak and Vanna White ever got in over the course of 41 years.
Well, now I'm intrigued. I need sex toy injury, and then I need to know what the great Pat Sajak and Vanna White were tussling over.
Also, I have a property that comes with the animals that are on property as well. I know that could appeal to you also. So some of that will be coming up next on The Club in the Fan.
What's your opinion?
It's
punishment, handing down life lessons to all the sinners.
On 1080, The Fan.
Double sun power!
Welcome back to the club. We have a number of topics to get to, but first, I don't think we can go any further without addressing something that happened this week. We can't let another week pass.
No, it's rough.
We've got a nice little thing going as a station with the Portland Pickles.
Yeah, the Pickles are great.
Their owner, John Ryan, came in recently, was on the hot corner. They've got they're bringing back the 10-cent beer night promotion. They had to push that off from earlier in the week on the 50th anniversary of that, but it's still happening later this year.
Yeah, I think sometime in July, I think we have a fan night.
That's right, we do. I want to say it's July 26th. That's off the top of my head.
End of July, somewhere around there.
There you go. So the Portland Pickles have a real fun thing going on over there, and we like being partnered with them. Part of that partnership, it appears, included our very own Joe Fisher and Patrick Harris.
The Hot Corner.
The hosts of the Hot Corner being invited to throw out the first pitch at the Portland Pickles game. Always a nice honor for, local hosts and a local team.
Yeah, and I don't think I've ever done a first pitch. I know years ago at the Hops, they invited us out to do like a pregame thing. And someone may have thrown out, but they invited us all out, and I think we tried to throw as hard as we could. I think they put the radar gun on there.
Nice, always good.
And, it was like...
That ensures the most accurate results.
Yeah, and maybe one of us threw out the first pitch, but we did something like that, but I've never actually thrown out like a first pitch, but you know my feelings on the first pitch. If you aren't confident in your ability to get it to the plate, you got to say no. And if you don't know if you can get it there, is it that hard to just take a ball and go out and find out if you can throw the distance? And you don't have to be great, but you got to get it there.
Well, if you just took a couple throws beforehand, you'd at least know how the arm was feeling, how it might go, and then you could gauge where you should stand, how far, etc. But I started seeing not the original video, but some sniping going on in the social media.
I heard about it from Dirt. I was listening to Dirt and Sprague this morning, and I was not aware of this footage. I had not seen it, but apparently Brandon Sprague was unhappy. I guess.
Have you seen it yet, or still
yeah,
not
well,
yet?
I've seen it. It sounds like from listening this morning. I think Sprague was saying that Joe on Sports Sunday was taking some shots at him over something. So it was like it was time to go back and have some payback. And they were talking about it this morning, and I did go and find the footage.
Yeah, you can find the footage online, and let's just say there's not a lot of velocity on either throw. No. Although I did see Joe.
Joe, by the way,
pumping himself up that he didn't hit dirt. He made it to the glove.
Okay, so this is vintage. So you know that if anyone was going to push back on the crappiness of the piss, it was Joe. I love Joe Fisher.
There's the tweet. I got it to the glove. No dirt on my ball.
Yeah, I love Joe Fisher, but no one doubles down on their bowl more than Joe. And this is coming from me. I don't believe Joe has ever admitted anything in his life. I'm sorry, Joe. As much as I love you, dude, that's an embarrassing first pitch. And for you to double down and say that it wasn't, yes, it was better than Pat because they threw him out side by side.
Well, he's right. It did make it to the glove, that doesn't make it good.
Did it make it to the glove? Because honestly, that is a instant replay. That's like, did the toe get in? Because if it did make it to the glove without touching the dirt,
it was gonna catch dirt if it didn't catch the leather at the last minute.
Boy, that thing, it's not pretty. Dude, you lollygagged that thing up there. You went up there in your Orioles shirt and Orioles hat. And this is, by the way, the guy that claims he runs like 5'2", 40. And he threw...
I forgot about the 40 claim.
An absolute My Little Pony first pitch of a rainbow bright looper. And Patrick's bounced. And
Patrick was also in slides, though. To be fair,
he was in slides in like a.
Well, that's the other thing, though.
He was
Don't
in slides
go do your first
in a
pitch
dress shirt.
in slides. You're gonna be stepping on dirt. I'm not saying that you should go Jim Harbaugh and cleat up or anything, but
look, it's not good when you host a baseball show. And by the way, that has nothing to do with your ability to host a show. It has nothing to do with your ability of knowing baseball. John Clayton, I'm pretty sure, couldn't throw a football. John Clayton was a really good football reporter. Yeah. I'm just saying, it's not a good look. If you host a golf show, you should probably be okay at golf. If you host a baseball show, you should be able to get it to the glove. And despite what Joe says, you didn't get it to the glove. If that thing made it to the glove, it's because the guy bailed you out and reached out and picked it off the ground. It's not a good look. It's not.
Well, we still love the hot corner and we still love the pickles. Hopefully,
Just-
the next iteration will have a little more velocity on it.
Look, again, when you're throwing out a first pitch, I think Dirt said this, and I've never agreed with Dirt more than on this. When you throw out the first pitch, you have one job. One. Get it there.
Yep.
Even if you airmail it, even if you nuke it, Bull Durham style, and you hit the bowl, you got to get it there. You can't short it. It's the one thing. As a grown, and this is what my problem with all first pitches, as a grown male, one of the skills before you graduate high school should be throwing a baseball.
You piece of garbage!
You should be able to throw a baseball. You should be able to get it there. I don't need it to be accurate. I don't need it to be a strike. You got to get it there. You can't short it.
It's still remarkable, though, how many really good athletes struggle with baseball specifically. Like John Wall's first pitch was a total disaster. I don't know if you've seen the footage recently of Caleb Williams, the #1 pick in the draft. He hitting a baseball off a tee. It looks really weird. It looks like he's never swung a bat before.
Perkins, BP.
Oh yeah, Kendrick Perkins BP the other day for whatever reason.
Was it bad? I didn't see that.
Yeah,
it was gross.
It looked like Mo Vaughn was handicapped, is what it looked like.
Well, I remember we had when I was at BYU, we had an offensive tackle. He played like 12 years in the league, and he went like 15th overall. All-American. Dude was scary good. His name was John Tate. He's like 6'7", like 310, phenomenal athlete. Dude was just, I was like, holy crap. When he was like one of those guys when I got there, I was like, who are you? What? Where did they make you? Played for the Chiefs, Bears, like I said, first-round pick. And I remember it was like my first or second year there, and we were playing, this is before I was banned from intramural sports.
Nice.
Yeah, I did receive a lifetime ban from all intramural sports.
Well done.
Yeah.
Did you kill somebody?
No, but I did take the letter that they sent me banning me from all intramural sports, and we tacked it to our front door. It was a sense of pride.
It's like an eviction notice.
Yeah, originally I got banned.
Get out of these intramurals and you stay out.
Well, we were banned. Me and my roommate got banned from intramural soccer. And then we
play intramurals, brother.
And then we got banned from intramural hockey. And then the basketball one led to the lifetime ban of all intramurals.
What happened in basketball?
Apparently it was a 3 strikes and you're out sort of thing. That's story.
Flagrant?
What?
Flagrant?
Snapple bottle?
No, it was just a fight. I mean, it just, it was bad. I thought we were going to be in some serious trouble.
So it wasn't basketball related. It was just.
Well, it was fighting related.
Yeah.
When you are an intramural team made up of football players, everyone tries to show you up, and we were a bunch of old linemen, so none of us were like great basketball players. So you get a bunch of dudes that are like 6'3", that like played high school basketball and they're good, and they love to talk crap. It's not a wise idea. And my roommate was, how would I say? He was very angry and may have been on substances and was a very aggressive and I was terrified of him. And one kid just kept mocking him. And I could see it coming.
Those are the worst when you're like, I know how bad this can get. You see the freight train from a mile down the track and nobody else sees it coming.
Yeah, and the guy that was playing me was way better than me. He was 6'5", dude. He was way better. But he kept throwing cheap elbows and stuff when we were rebounding. And I kept telling him, I said, dude, you are going to get your ass kicked. And the guy was like, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I told him, your friend is going to die. I'm like, that's not the guy. I'm trying to tell him, I'm like, dude, if you hit me one more time, but I'm like, that guy right there, I'm like, that doesn't end well for you or your friend. And they just thought that it was a bunch of talk.
Well, they thought it was intramurals and that nothing would happen.
Well, let's just say one man crossed the line and my friend absolutely obliterated a guy, going up for a layup. Then he hit the official. Who came over to throw him out. And after hitting the official, he went Hulk Hogan, grabbed his jersey, ripped it down the middle, and started chasing another one of their teammates around the court. And at that point, some of their team had fled into the stands.
Nice.
And so at this point, I was like, we're all in trouble.
Yeah,
and
I don't think the honor code is being adhered to at that point.
So the guy that had been talking crap to me, and this was not my proudest moment, he was just standing there, and so I just turned and was like, whatever. And so I just drilled him. And then I just punched him. Down he went. and it turned into a whole thing. And then literally my buddy, so to be fair, that was my only involvement. I hit the guy once and he crumpled. And then my buddy just started chasing people. I think he got a hold of like one other dude and like bellied, like suplexed him. That guy crumpled. Is not good. I was like, oh crap.
Malice in the Palace Part 2.
Malice in the Provo
seen
Palace.
An entire team of douchey Mormon wannabe basketball players literally flee into the stands while a 320-pound shirtless man stands at the base of those stands calling them all cowards and telling that he will fight every one of them at the same time. And by the way, he would have, and he would have won. He was a terrifying, my guy just laid on the ground because whatever. That dude was an absolute bitch. And needless to say,
Kick the ball, you little bitch.
it was a whole thing. I was like, dude, we should leave, and we should leave now. We took off. It was not good. People showed up at our door. I thought we were in some real trouble. Honor code got involved, and some strings may have been pulled. Needless to say, that was the end of our intramural career. We received not a sport ban, not a year ban. We received a lifetime ban, and we're no longer allowed to participate in any intramural sports. So technically, I didn't necessarily feel like it was me that got banned. I think it was more of my friend, but I did kind of piggyback on the back of it. And the whole point of that, by the way.
So it was a Mickey Mouse championship that year?
Look, all I know is if you want to go through the championship, you went through us. And I believe, by the way, I think those guys
Not anymore.
Those guys were up by like 20 when all this went down. They were killing us. Like, we didn't have a lot. Like, there wasn't a lot going for our game. There was a lot of rebounding. The O-line team was not necessary. We had the O-line, and then we had one receiver, like this little dude that like hung out with us. He was one of our receivers. He was like the only like option we had. Other than that, a lot of bully ball. But we could win the fight. But anyway.
Broad Street Bullies Part 2 in Provo. You walk out with flyer unis on?
Look, Will knows this. O-linemen, there's a lot of fat kid aggression, right?
It's different.
It's different. There's fat guy aggression. We don't got a lot going for us other than we're big. We're probably hungry. No one wants to run up and down the court. And then to hear some some rat punk kid talking
This
SQ.
son of a bitch. Holy cow.
This is the problem with O-linemen. Because when you talk trash, most people it's like, hey, we're going to talk trash about basketball. That's why I never understood trash talking. In our world, if you talk trash to someone, that meant you wanted to kick someone's ass.
It's a fight.
It's a fight. I can't tell how many times I saw those fights between us. And so in our world, when someone keeps going on, that is going to lead to a fight. And most normal people, that's just trash talk, especially playing sports, which is why I believe ample warnings were given to those dumbasses. You should stop. And how anyone could look at my buddy and think it was a good idea
to keep poking the bear.
To keep poking that bear. And when I tell you, look, I'm not saying I'm the toughest guy in the world, but there's not a lot of people, sans Brock Lesnar types, that I'm legitimately terrified of. I was terrified of this man. I've told the story where I thought we were going to fight, and I've never been more happy to have something broken up. Like, he was legitimately a terrifying human being.
You were just ready to take your medicine?
Well, I was hoping that like I could just grab him and then we'd eventually split it apart. And then we calmed down, and then afterwards, that was the one where he came up to me. He's like, I would have kicked your ass, right? I'm like, absolutely. He's like, you were scared? I'm like, yeah, 100%. I just didn't want to look like a bitch in front of everyone. He's like, cool. He had to know that I knew that he was going to kill me.
If you had said, no, I think I would have been fine, he would have fought you right then
100%.
And there.
And by the way,
100%.
It wouldn't have been competitive. It just would have, it just wasn't. He's just that guy. And so to see a bunch of skinny, tall, former high school basketball players poking this man over and over again, I didn't feel one bit bad. Other than when they fled into the crowd to their wives and girlfriends, there was part of me that like, one of you has to have some balls. He stood at the base of the bleachers and challenged the entire team An entire team. And nope, like they all just sat there and hid. The one guy just laid on the ground and didn't move after I hit him.
Smart move, play dead.
Come on, there's got to be someone that's got some pride.
Not after that.
Someone.
Nope.
But anywho, that is the end of my intramural career. The whole point of that, before that any of that, was John Tate. Great offensive lineman. Maybe the best O-lineman certainly the best O-lineman I ever played with in college, and was a great NFL O-lineman. That man could do nothing, play no other sport.
No coordination.
I saw him play softball for the first time when we played, and I was like, oh my God. He couldn't swing a bat. He couldn't throw a ball. He was a horrific basketball player. He was bad at every other sport I saw him play.
It's remarkable how the athleticism sometimes just doesn't translate.
And yet at some point, he was such a great left tackle, but couldn't do anything else. It's a weird specific, sometimes we have weird specific sets. And yes, athletes can't sometimes throw out first pitches. We think they could. You're like, oh, he's a great athlete, but it's not necessarily the case.
We think.
All right, we are going to get to some choose your own adventure.
We think.
Coming up next on the club in the club on the Fan. But first, Ortner has Sports Center.
Now from the Fans. 1080, The Fan.
Double sun power!
Welcome back to the club. We will attempt to get to some of the things that we have promised. We have one text from the Vancouver Ford text line, 503-8646-FAN, that says, please give me the sex toy injury. I've been waiting patiently, kinda. So here it is, because I know that Ortner wanted it yesterday as well, but we kind of ran out of time, and he thought that we would need
Ortner
to...
wants a sex toy injury?
Well, he wanted the update. He wanted the story of it. I don't want to say he
I wanted
wants...
the story. My injury days are done.
He's into some kink things, is he?
But so I saw this
Not a shame.
come across online, and it kind of reminded me of a story we've heard in the club before when Isaac was talking about a friend of his who I believe is either a surgeon or maybe like a gastroenterologist or something like that. But he heard of a story through this person about someone essentially losing their genitals and their anus with a WD-40.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
This kind of harkened to that a little bit, and I thought, I just can't imagine why you would put yourself in this scenario. But two, I think this person might have a case when it comes to their lawsuit.
All right, let's go.
This says, the greatest personal injury case I've ever heard. It's from a lawyer. Says that, well, I don't want to say the name just for purposes of potentially airing someone out, but it says they picked up a client. Oh, it's an attorney. Chris Goodnow picked up a client who is suing a sex toy company. Said the client purchased a butt plug that was advertised as 100% silicone and chose to wear it to their MRI appointment.
Oh.
Nope. This is on you.
There was metal in there, huh?
And I know
is on you.
both of you as football players have probably taken an MRI.
Multiple.
Can't have that in there.
So if you've got bolts, screws, earrings, navel piercings, a Prince Albert, whatever, no metal, because the M stands for magnetic, and that will rip whatever metal you have out of your body or will try to.
By the way, this lawsuit, they win. They should win
are
this.
100% winning.
They should win this. If it says it's 100% silicone, you're perfectly fine bringing that into the MRI.
This person, male, female, whatever, they're an idiot.
Well, let's finish the story here. Much to the client's dismay, the butt plug, in fact, had a metal core. The butt plug was
that metal core. It's why when I deal
also
with
have a metal core.
When I deal with my plugs, 100% silicone. It's all rubber or nothing for me. I don't mess around with the metal.
Don't want to feel the cold?
No.
It says it accelerated at the speed of sound up to the client's chest cavity and was described in a memo as an anal railgun.
Oh my!
The client survived
God.
with major injuries.
It went. Boy, I would have thought it would go out the other. It went up.
I don't know where the magnetism starts from or pulls to, but
it would 100%.
I just passed you the X-ray of where that thing ended up. It goes all the way up their chest cavity around their lungs.
In the chest. Oh my!
They're going to win this lawsuit.
Yes, they are.
They're still dumb. Don't wear this to an MRI. When you go and have an MRI, I can't believe we have to say this. Don't have anything in you, on you, through you.
Agreed.
Well, to be fair, anytime I've had lots of MRIs, and I do have to disclose the hardware in my body, and that's usually not a problem, because I've got some pins and screws. But they've never asked me, is there anything in there? They just asked, do you have anything metal on you?
Why do you need it in you while you go to get an MRI?
Who are you to say what you do or don't need in you?
I've had many MRIs.
Well, they asked. They've never asked me, is anything in there? They ask, do I have anything metal? And I say, the only thing I say is, well, I got pins in my shoulder and the ankle. And they're like, oh, no, you're fine. And that's the end of it. As far as I know, that says 100% silicone. I assume it's 100% silicone. They asked me, not is there anything in you? They asked, do you have anything metal? And my answer is no. I feel for this person.
I do too.
Person's out there just trying to live their best life, and next thing you know, they got a plug rocket going right up into the chest.
Here's the thing.
Don't show up with it.
Will, I generally subscribe to the theory, if you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. There's no reason to show up with that there, but at the same time, it should have been safe to do so, because they didn't say anything about having anything else in you. They just said metal. This person absolutely believed they did not have metal on or in their person.
Hey, I'm on board.
That's how we got here.
Why would you even take the risk, though? This is,
because there wasn't a risk, according to the company that sold the product.
There was clearly a risk. This is the same.
Not if you read the package and it says 100% silicone.
Let me ask you this: if I've got a peanut allergy,
yes,
okay, got a peanut allergy,
you're allergic to nuts.
Allergic to nuts, and I'm getting a trail mix, right?
Yep.
Say I'm getting a trail mix, and on that trail mix it says, let's say it says 100% seeds. That's what it says on the package, 100% seeds.
And then you take a bite and you go into
And then
anaphylactic shock.
Anaphylactic shock, and they're like, oh, well, like there's peanut oil in that mixes in. But it said 100% seeds. I'm sorry, that's on them. You gotta say metal plug, 100% silicone coating. You gotta. The key is the packaging. What we need is the Adam and Eve packaging to see if anywhere on the package it says
contains metal.
It says contains metal.
The private lives. Yeah, well, because if it does say contains metal,
then you're fine.
Then it's really them.
Then it's on them. But if that thing says 100%, especially like right in big print, if it says 100% silicone, I'm sorry.
Well, that was
in the lawsuit.
They're siding
with these people.
I'm not siding with them, right? Like if it says 100% silicone, there's nothing about the metal core. I understand that they will win. But this is the same reason why when you have a shirt tag, it says, do not iron shirt while wearing. Like we need to be smarter than this as a society.
So
it should have been safe though, right?
The new question in the MRI, do you have any metal on you and or in your prison wallet? I wonder if now, because like when you get coffee, now it has to say like caution hot.
Yes.
Just remember like
the McDonald's.
The lady sued, yeah. Lady sued because she
won.
And she won.
Like $11 million bucks or something stupid.
She deserved to win.
So now on like on coffee cups, it says like on lids and stuff, it says caution hot. I wonder if the next time, like if this thing it has to get settled or whatever, I wonder if there will be new protocol when you go in for an MRI, if they have to specifically ask you, hey, do you have any piercings? Do you have anything metal? No. Do you have anything in you? Because I'm guessing if this person wins a bunch of money, I promise you that this will be coming to an MRI question near you.
Right in the butt?
Yeah,
so
they give you that little form and you have to fill it out and like I have to circle on me where I have metal hardware. I wonder if now I'm going to have, like down there in the middle, I'm like, let me just circle here. And I think it's silicone, but.
We'll see if we have any other adventures left to choose when we get back in the club. You're listening to 1080 The Fan.
The home of Dirt and Spray.
I'm Dirt.
Dirt.
Did you just say we just stepped out of the shower?
I said he.
Right, okay.
On 1080, The Fan.
Double sun power!
All right, Suk, not a lot of time left. Do you want to know what Pat Sajak and Vanna White were fighting over?
I was intrigued by this. I'm interested after what they worked together like 40 years.
41 years they worked together, and of course Pat Sajak hanging it up at the end of this season. Ryan Seacrest will be taking that job.
Of course he will.
Of course he will. But they interviewed Vanna about the entire run that they had together, and she said they had one fight over the years that was true and earnest bickering, and it was over what condiments to put on a hot dog.
Get right the hell out of town.
Pat
That's what
Sajak
they
says
got all
he
fired
went
up?
Chicago style. Ketchup belongs nowhere on a hot dog. Vanna White says ketchup has to go on a hot dog, and that was their biggest disagreement in 41 years.
Get right the hell out of town. Of all the things you could fight about.
Yeah,
Boy,
like,
it is
no one
fascinating.
stepped on my lines. You didn't turn the letter in time. No.
Boy, it
hot
is
dogs.
fascinating to me that people get worked up over like pineapple on a pizza and ketchup on a hot dog. Everyone gets like that is the strangest like dug in argument that I could possibly think of. I could care